Great service. This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. After a 4-month Title IX investigation into allegations of sexual exploitation, sexual harassment, and stalking, the University of Florida has cleared men's basketball coach Todd Golden. In a statement, the school said no evidence was found, ended the investigation amid fifth-ranked Florida's best start in a decade. Franchise quarterback Dak Prescott among the Cowboys players today as the team introduced the 10th head coach in franchise history, Brian Schottenheimer. Considering where Dallas is, who the coach is likely won't really matter, says ESPN's Dan Orlovsky.
The Cowboys are in this terrible spot because they were scared to make difficult decisions 18 months ago. I'm not going to doubt. I have no idea if Brian Schottenheimer is going to be a great head coach or not, but I do know this: no matter who the coach was, Cowboys weren't going to be good. Dak Prescott's cap hit next year is $90 million, and they still have to re-sign Micah Parsons.
Steelers owner and president Art Rooney II said securing a quarterback is the team's priority, and it's his preference to sign either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson this offseason. Rooney added it is unlikely they bring back both quarterbacks.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Cannon. Coming up Tuesday, the Bills and Commanders were close but couldn't finish the job. I'll tell you what they need to do to get over the hump next season. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's ride! Go!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
Chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Bill Connelly from ESPN in 15 minutes. Ross Jackson with all the Saints stuff coming up in hour number 3. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Not a banner weekend for your New Orleans Saints. After Aaron Glenn accepted the Jets job late last week, we found out on Saturday that Joe Brady was like, good. Joe Brady decided he's not going to pursue the Saints head coach opening. Instead, he'll stay in Buffalo as the Buffalo offensive coordinator. You know, most guys that are coordinators have head coaching ambition. So the opportunity to go interview for a head coaching job would be pretty cool. If nothing else, go get that experience going through the interview process. Even if you don't get it, your name's on the radar and kind of in those circles. Even more so when you're talking about a guy that had been part of this organization. He'd been in that building with that GM, that front office. And he's like, good. Didn't even interview. And then on Monday, Aaron Glenn was introduced by the Jets. And you can go watch the entire Aaron Glenn press conference, but from I don't really care about the Jets. From the Saints' perspective, this is the only thing you need to hear.
Players that's here now, put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Listen, there are going to be some challenges, but with challenges becomes opportunity, gets opportunity. But here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit. Listen, I want this job. I interviewed for a number of them, but I wanted this job.
First of all, I love the energy. He's got Dan Campbell bite their kneecaps energy. The difference is Aaron Glenn was a first-round pick. Was a really good pro. And Dan Campbell played. Don't get me wrong. Dan Campbell played. He was a dog. But, I mean, Aaron Glenn was a first-round pick. It was good. Anyway, love the energy. But you heard him say, interviewed for a lot of them, I wanted this one. That's another guy who had been in your organization, both as a player and as an assistant coach, familiar with how things are going, and was like, deuces, I'd rather go to the Jets. They're a more dysfunctional organization historically in the NFL than the Jets. That's where he wanted to be instead of your place. Took that job before he even did an in-person interview. And what I keep hearing from a lot of people today, or really since Saturday with the Joe Brady news, man, it's bad optics. Bad optics for the Saints. Now, maybe we're just arguing semantics here, but y'all, it ain't optics. It's reality. Optics can be phrased as to say it looks worse than it is. It's a bad look. This ain't a bad look. This is a bad reality. We did this exercise, 2 months ago here? Where we looked at all of the open jobs and jobs we thought would be open and weighed the pros and cons. The Saints are a bad job. It's not optics. It's your reality. Look at the salary cap for next year. The New Orleans Saints currently $50.2 million over the cap. That's dead last in the NFL. The New Orleans Saints, $48.4 million in dead cap contracts for next year. That's the most in the NFL. Look at your most expensive players against the cap next year. Derek Carr, old. Cam Jordan, old. Taysom Hill, old, coming off an injury. Eric McCoy, good player, coming off an injury-plagued season. Demario Davis, love him, 36 years old. Ryan Ramczyk, $12 million, not playing anymore. Y'all, your roster is old. This ain't optics. You were the 28th oldest roster in the NFL. Only the Steelers, Niners, Vikings, and Dolphins were older than you. You're old and expensive. Your quarterback is Derek Carr or Spencer Rattler or Jay Kaner. Let's assume it is Derek Carr. He's made the playoffs twice in 11 years. He's 77-92 as a starter. That's a 455 winning percentage. He is what he is. Like, you're not a desirable job. And oh, by the way, you got a gum-smacking GM who keeps driving the organization into the ground, and the owner doesn't seem to care. For whatever reason, she has this allegiance to him whereby he is Teflon. He is completely fail-proof. It don't matter how many times he crashes this car into the ditch, she's going to just let him keep getting behind the wheel. It's Mickey. Mick. Did you crash the car again? Oh, you totaled it this time? Wow. Well, you better not total the next one, Mick. We got our eye on you, you little knucklehead. Let's go get some ice cream. That's what it feels like with Gayle Benson right now. What other general manager in the NFL could manage this gigantic steaming pile of crap and keep their job with absolutely no repercussions? It boggles the mind. But I've said, and I'll continue to say, when you look at 2026, the Saints will be a better situation. Now, let me not be presumptive. Mickey could go screw the pooch on this entirely in this offseason. And he could go get a bunch more expensive contracts and restructure deals and put yourself in an even worse situation in 26, 27, and beyond. He could. Or they could look at this situation, realize how bad they are, push the reset button. Like when I was a kid, my brother was beating me in Contra or Tecmo Super Bowl. And I would, instead of taking my L, I'd just go hit the reset button. And then we'd fight. We'd end up like punching each other and spit on each other and chase each other around the yard because that's what boys do. At least that's what we did. And then my mom would yell at us, "Stop fighting, you are brothers. You got to get along." I still think the best option at this point is retain Darren Rizzi, tank, then next year when your cap's in a better situation and you have a top 5 draft pick where you can go draft your franchise quarterback, you can actually go hire someone who will want a really good coach who will want your job, because ain't none of the people you want your job, because it ain't a good job right now. All right, it's after further review. Show opens brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. Oh, Paulie, put it up on the screen, please. If you haven't done it yet, y'all, Super Bowl 59, a week from Sunday. You want to be there. Our friends at Mockler Beverage and Bud Light are helping you out. There's the QR code right there. Scan that QR code for your chance to win. If you're listening, not watching, go to the Mockler Beverage social media pages, Mockler Beverage. You'll see the Bud Light ad with the QR code where you can scan to win your tickets to Super Bowl 59, official partner, Bud Light, official partner Super Bowl 59, and the official beer of AFR. Okay, let's knock out a break. I like having Bill Connelly on the show. He's the guy that came up with the SP Plus rankings over at ESPN, and so I just think he's just a glutton for punishment because he always does these sort of projections things with numbers, and it makes everybody hate him. But I think Bill's really smart, and I like talking to him, and he has a projection for next year's college football playoff, and he has LSU in it. We'll talk to him next at AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Y'all, ain't no sense in going through life feeling sick and tired all the time. Gentlemen, you feel you're getting older. Your 40s, your 50s, whatever age you are, 60s, 70s. And you slow down. You go, oh, it's hell getting old. You said that to yourself? Hell getting old. Just taking a nap in the middle of the day in your rocking chair. Hell getting old. Just don't feel like getting up and going and getting in the gym. Maybe don't feel like getting in the bedroom. Y'all, don't settle for that. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness can help. Hormone replacement therapy and ED treatments. If you are struggling with either, a simple blood test can let you know if you're a candidate for hormone replacement therapy, and they have other ways to determine if what ED treatment, they have multiple, could be right for you. But you got to start. YourGoodwood.com, YourGoodwood.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more. Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
I always like talking to Bill Connelly because he's smart and I think we always have good conversations. But I love the sometimes self-deprecating humor as well. So Bill has a piece up at ESPN.com right now where he's projecting the 2025 college football playoff bracket, and I won't bury the lead. He has Penn State winning the national championship, and so ESPN tweeted out the link, and so Bill quote tweets it with parenthetically mutes conversation immediately. That's so good. Bill's good enough to join us for a couple minutes. Hey man, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm really good. So like, is there a part of you that you're just a giant troll that you're just trying to kick the anthill?
Well, what's funny is this was a fun exercise and just kind of like going, creating rules for each conference title and coming up with the field and trying to set up the most interesting playoff matchups, and which I enjoyed. I had Brian Kelly versus Notre Dame, and that was all fun. And then I realized, oh crap, now I got to actually pick games. So it was like the very last thing I did. I had no preconceived notion of who I was going to pick, and then that becomes the social media headline, basically.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's how it goes a lot of times whenever, like, you're filling out a March Madness bracket too, right? Like, you don't intend to get somewhere. You just start picking upsets, and you're like, oh, I didn't know I was going to end up with this game. And then you look, and you got Central Connecticut State in the Sweet 16. Like, how did that happen? I don't know. That was exactly it. I had Notre Dame and Penn State in the semis. I'm like, oh, it's more fun when there's revenge in the second matchup. And then I had Penn State Georgia. I'm like, man, I have questions about Georgia. And then I realized I'd pick Penn State to win the whole thing. Do you honestly think Penn State can win the whole thing?
I think they can. I mean, they're definitely going to be a contender. They were very good this year. Andy Kotelnicki is a great offensive coordinator. He's going to have a better lay of the land. They just hired the best defensive coordinator in the sport, as far as I'm concerned. So they're absolutely top 3, 4, 5. But yeah, I mean, they'll have a chance to win the title. I just didn't realize I was going to give them the official endorsement here.
Yeah, for those that missed it, Penn State plucked away Knowles, the defense coordinator from Ohio State. It's a big get. I mean, from the national champion. That's something. By the way, I also love when I get to read something from someone who makes me go grab a dictionary to look up a word. So I had to go look up heuristic. Yeah, I had to look. What is that? I'm looking it up. It just says plural noun. A heuristic process or method.
It's a fancy word for rules. Let's just create some rules.
Okay.
So that was basically what I was going for there.
Okay, what were your rules then putting together your playoff?
So for each conference title, I basically tried to come up with something that kind of ties recent years together. So for the SEC, to win the SEC, you have to either beat Kirby Smart or a coach who has beaten Kirby Smart in a previous season, like Ed Ogeron had, like Nick Saban had. So that basically gives us Georgia, Alabama, or Ole Miss. Those are the only teams eligible for the SEC titles this year because of previous years. So then I just picked from that batch. And that's what I kind of did. Clemson, the ACC, it was kind of the same way. Clemson either wins it or gets knocked out by the team that does win it later in the regular season. Big 12 is just whoever won the close games is going to lose them, and whoever lost them is going to win them. And so I just flipped everything around and had Utah over Kansas in the title game. So try to keep it pretty fun. And then at the end of it, pick Penn State.
Well, you ended up with some interesting matchups. For the people here that'll be most interested, you did have in a first-round matchup 10th seeded LSU, so as an at-large, at 7th seeded Notre Dame, which, as you mentioned, would be Brian Kelly against his former team, which would be an awful lot of fun. What are your feelings on the Tigers coming off what is categorically a disappointing season, but heading into one that feels pretty big for LSU.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easier to talk yourself into LSU in 25 than I think it was in 24. Let's put it that way. I mean, Nussmeier, probably isn't the best quarterback in the country, but he's top 10. He's going to have at least one very good receiver and probably a lot more than that. And excuse me. And so the defense is going to be probably the question mark again, but I like Blake Baker. He's going to have two awesome linebackers if healthy. He's going to have just about the best linebacking tandem in the country if healthy. I like the portal work just in general. It seems like they've added some really nice depth there this year and probably could have done a better job of that in previous years. But I mean, you just kind of step back and you realize there's not a lot of huge question marks here. And I definitely think that could be a top 10 and potentially higher kind of team.
Bill Connelly's with us. You'll get him on Twitter or X at ESPN_Bill C. He's got a fun exercise. It's a mock playoff for 2025. As you mentioned, he does have LSU in it, but 4 SEC teams. Georgia, the 1 seed. We mentioned LSU. The 2 in the middle will probably get a lot of attention with Alabama as the 5 seed, Texas as the 6 seed. There is, I don't want to be too loose with my wordage, with my verbiage, but there is a little excuse making for Kalen DeBoer's struggles in year 1. How much are you actually buying that it's a real good bounce back opportunity for Bama?
It's a massive bounce back opportunity. We obviously need to see what we don't know what we're gonna see at quarterback. I should put it that way. And if Simpson wins the job, that's probably not a great sign. You probably want one of the younger guys to win it. But no, I mean overall it was funny. I got to the end of the year and my SP Plus rankings. Ole Miss was number 2 and Alabama was number 4 because each of them suffered 2 of the flukiest losses of the season. So I'm going to lean onto that. I certainly didn't like the way that offense looked at the end of the season, but I've loved just about every other Kalen DeBoer offense that I've ever seen. So I'm going to assume he and his staff didn't forget everything they've ever learned, and that therefore their ceiling's still going to be really high. Basically I had to pick 3 SEC teams from that batch, and I wasn't real convinced about any of them, but I think I was more comfortable going with Alabama than I was Ole Miss, who has a lot of rebuilding to do. A&M has a lot of rebuilding to do on one side of the ball. Tennessee has a lot of rebuilding on another side of the ball. Florida still got the schedule, so I went with Bama.
You have Texas, but I think what's more interesting than having Texas in there is who you have Texas playing, and that's North Carolina and their new head coach, Bill Belichick. So, Bill, the reality is I think a lot of people here, and I'm throwing myself in that number as well, we know Bill Belichick said UNC. I can't tell you a lot about that roster, that situation in North Carolina otherwise. So was this just part of the fun exercise, or is there a real opportunity for Bill Belichick in year 1 there in Chapel Hill?
Probably just part of a fun exercise.
Okay.
I backed myself in the corner and decided to go with the fun option. Basically, I had an Indiana Memorial out of nowhere transfer-laden turnaround bid, basically, that I had to give to somebody, either a team with a first-year coach or a team coming off of a disappointing season that's loading up on transfers. Honestly, of the teams in this batch, number one, there were barely any power conference teams that changed coaches, so I didn't have a lot to choose from there. North Carolina was certainly one of them. Scott Frost at UCF, I guess. But then I noticed that, I really like what Oklahoma's done in the portal as well. And, I think with the offensive hires that Venables made, getting in John Mateer, I could see a major turnaround there happening. But I can never – this is Indiana. This is an Indiana Memorial pick. I couldn't pick Oklahoma, a blue blood, to be Indiana. I had to get a little weird. It had to be something completely unexpected, and I realized I had a chance to set up Belichick versus Manning in the playoffs, so I did it.
That's so good. Bill, there is the component, right, that we have a one-year sample. So how do you really what do you really extrapolate from a one-year sample? But, right. We watched SMU go from irrelevant since the Pony Express death penalty to in year 1 in the 12-team play in the playoffs. So, should we believe that SMU is an outlier? Or, I know you're correlating to Indiana, but Indiana, SMU is an outlier? Or might we see teams like that actually crash the party every year because of the way it's set up?
No, I think, with the pretty wide variety in schedule strength that we're going to have with these enormous conferences. SMU was kind of borderline top 25 heading into the season. Nobody was talking about playoff, obviously. But I do think basically anybody in that top 30, 35 range that has just the right schedule and can get to like 11-1 or something, there's a lot of teams that could pull that off. North Carolina's probably not one of them, admittedly. But, no, I mean, just in general, it is kind of, we're going to do these exercises every time there's a new set of rankings out about, here's what the bracket would look like with these rankings. But we almost have to kind of just reserve a spot or two for surprise stories that catch fire at just the right time. And honestly, that's great. That's like my favorite part. SMU making it, Arizona State catching fire, Indiana being the story of the first, 3 quarters of the season. Those were awesome stories, and I thought it brought a lot of life to college football.
I agree completely. I mean, more football is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. More teams having a chance is a good thing. Do you think, last thing, and this is sort of not directly correlated with the exercise you did, but after 1 year, if you could tweak or change the playoff format, what would you suggest or what would you do if you were the college football grand poobah?
Well, I know everybody I assume after this coming year, we're going to have just a straight 12 seeds. We're not going to have the 4 conference title buys anymore. I didn't mind it at all. I liked the emphasis that put on conference titles. And, for, fans of SEC or Big Ten schools that were complaining about it, I'm like, well, that's why you make all the money. You're already getting so many other advantages. Here's just one advantage we're going to throw to somebody else. But I get that that's going to go away. My will is not going to keep that from happening. But I did. The other thing that everybody talked about that I did absolutely agree with is those home games were amazing in the first round. That we uncovered a new substance of playoff home field advantage, and it felt like the most powerful substance we've ever discovered. I want that in the quarterfinals too. So that's my biggest thing. I mean, among other things, like putting in number 13 versus 15 in like the Cotton Bowl or whatever is more. You're more likely to remember who won the Cotton Bowl in a given year than just having it be a quarterfinal. So let's make those home games and make them more memorable. And I don't know if it'll happen because I know bowl people still have a decent amount of pull, but it absolutely should.
Yeah, I agreed. If they can make the money, they got to figure out the money, Bill. It's whenever they figured out the money is when they expanded the playoff. Whenever they figure out how to disassociate from the bowl games and make the money work, then I agree with you. We'll see it. But either way, college football is never boring, even here at the end of January. Bill Connelly, I'll get him on Twitter at ESPN_Bill C and go read his projection how the 2025 college football playoff will shake out. It's a fun exercise. Bill, we always appreciate a couple of minutes, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right, be well. It is After Further Review. We're glad you're with us. Monday shows are brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank vinyl siding. They do it all. They do it better than anyone. And when you do it once, you're done forever at Relief Windows. Remember, lifetime transferable warranty. It's Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. I appreciate Bill for the time. The exercise is an interesting one that he went through there. I look at, though, the way he projected everything. And, again, it was just a fun way to look at it instead of just saying, here's a way too early top 25, and if this holds, here's how it's seeded. He came up with a lot of different ways to look at it, which gave you some more interesting perspectives. Like a year ago at this time, nobody was talking SMU, Boise, or maybe Boise because of the G5, but SMU, Indiana in a college football playoff. So could a team like North Carolina, as he put it this year, find their way in? He also, by the way, has as the 8-9 matchup Michigan against Ohio State, which would be pretty fascinating if that did play out as a playoff game that you'd see in the first round a week after their, well, I guess you'd have the conference championship, and then, I guess technically they could play in that as well. Wouldn't that be something if they played 3 weeks in a row? Regular season finale, conference championship, then the first round of the playoff. I guess in theory it could happen that way. Anyway, good stuff from Bill. We appreciate it. Remember, if you miss anything, you can catch it on demand at 1045ESPN.com or just search AFR LSU or AFR Saints. You want LSU content or Saints content, go to YouTube or podcast, just search AFR LSU or AFR Saints. We opened up today talking about Joe Brady and the Saints targets dropping out of the race. So how desirable really is this job? You can get it on demand if you missed the open. All right, let me knock out a quick break. Come back. We'll go around the SEC. And in case you missed it over the weekend, South Carolina issued an apology to the family of Flau'jae Johnson. I want to talk about that. A nice little bounce back for Kim Balke's squad. It's AFR.
AFR.
As we kick off a new week, great opportunity to remind you about our friends over at the Renaissance Hotel. Of course, the Watermark downtown, the Renaissance, as they call it, Southtown, right there on Bluebonnet across from the Mall of Louisiana and Perkins Row, right near the interstate on Bluebonnet. So super convenient towards everything, for everything in town. But But if you're thinking of hosting an event here in 2025, maybe you've got a fundraiser coming up. Maybe you're planning a wedding reception. Maybe it's an awards banquet, a corporate meeting for a dozen people. No matter from a dozen people up to 500 people, they got 13,000 square feet of meeting space there at the Renaissance Hotel. And they can accommodate anything that you have. They'll manipulate their space to make it work for whatever type of event that you're having. Again, this is where LSU, the entire football program, moves into the Friday before home games. They can host the LSU football program. They can host whatever event you've got. Call and ask my friend Allison Crump over at the Renaissance Hotel in Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Parish Construction and Roofing.
This is Coach Kim Mulkey. Go to parishbuilt.com for all of your roofing.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
L'Auberge Casino Hotel Baton Rouge brings you live coverage.
L'Auberge.
Okay. L'Auberge Casino
Thank
Hotel
you.
Baton Rouge brings you live coverage from the 2025 Reese's Senior Bowl. Our team of T-Bob Hebert and Jacob Hester host Off the Bench live from Mobile, Alabama, Monday, January 27th through Thursday, January 30th. Listen on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and watch on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel.
Look, I don't know that I've ever coached against a team that's got 10 McDonald's All-Americans on a roster. How do you even keep 10 on a roster? And that's what we face today. Flip a coin, y'all can play any of them you want. Got to keep them happy, right? I don't have that. I've got to go with what I have, what I feel in my gut. Fatigue could play a part, you know, but I always tend to give credit to the opponent. The shots we missed could have been fatigue. The shots we missed could have been their good defense. Yeah, you got that many. Who you gonna stop? Pick your poison.
Kim Mulkey Friday after LSU lost to South Carolina 66-56. There was a story actually after that game that became sort of the bigger headline. LSU's now lost 17 in a row to South Carolina. Kim Mulkey 0-5 against South Carolina in her time at LSU. It was a tight ball game until it wasn't, and South Carolina ultimately did what they did, which is made the plays to win it. But after the game, you might have seen this by now, the South Carolina has an in-game, an in-venue DJ that plays songs during the game. It's very common now to have that happen. And the DJ played a song, the edited version is Cut Friends, by the rapper Camouflage. Well, Camouflage is the deceased father of Flau'jae Johnson. If you don't know Flau'jae's dad, whose name is Jason Johnson, his stage name was Camouflage. He died, he was killed in a shooting in Georgia back in 2003. When it was actually before Flau'jae was even born. Her mother was pregnant with Flau'jae when her dad was shot and killed. And so the in-arena DJ played this song by Camouflage right after the game. Well, somebody noticed it, took video of it, put it on Instagram. The DJ replied and was like, "Oh, my bad," with like a laughing emoji, basically making a joke out of it. And Flau'jae went on to Twitter and said, "I'll take my L on the chin, but this is just nasty behavior. Nothing funny about that." And she's right. And to their credit, South Carolina Athletics did on Sunday issue an apology to Flau'jae, to LSU, to Flau'jae's family, saying they were addressing the inappropriate in-game song selection. The DJ has been suspended for a game. They'll provide further education on expectations for the future. But hat tip to South Carolina for doing the right thing. Because, listen, I mean, the reality, y'all don't need me to sit here and preach to you. But, I mean, to the victor go the spoils and enjoy the win and all that stuff. But, like, come on. We're talking about the deceased father of one of the players on the other team. Like, reasoning adult people shouldn't need the explanation here. But hat tip to South Carolina for doing the right thing, and hopefully that all comes out. The DJ did come back and say, "Look, I didn't mean any offense. I played that song at every radio station, every gig. I've played it for years." I get it. But also the reply on Instagram immediately after sort of speaks to exactly what the intent was, and we all know what the intent was, and so move on from it. And LSU basketball is going to have to do that as well. They're going to have to figure out how to beat South Carolina. They'll probably get another crack at it this year, either in the SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament, because the truth is women's college basketball is a top-heavy game. There isn't great depth in the sport. You have the same handful of programs that are in it every year because they're the ones that invest the resources to get the best players. It's why they're always right there. So eventually you're probably going to see LSU and South Carolina in the SEC tournament, the NCAA tournament, wherever it might be, lock horns again. And so Kim Mulkey will have another opportunity to go after Dawn Staley and her squad and see if they can get it done on the hardwood, which they've been unable to do so far in her 4 years in her fourth season in Baton Rouge. But to their credit, LSU did bounce back. They played, of course, they played that game on Friday. It was postponed because of the weather. And then they flew home after the game Friday night, had Saturday off, then had to come back Sunday and play Texas A&M, and they managed to score a win. Here was Kim Mulkey after the bounce-back win.
Yeah, you just grind. How many times through the course of a season you got to grind? And we're in, 7, 8 games in? I don't know what we are. You're about halfway there. There's going to be games like this. This isn't going to be the only one. I'm glad we were home. Thought it was a great crowd today, Alumni Day. Just grind it out. Just grind it out.
Tigers did fall to 7th in the polls after their loss to South Carolina, but they did what they needed to do. They didn't let the South Carolina game affect the next time out, even on the short turnaround. So LSU bounces back, beats Texas A&M on Sunday. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by South Point Volkswagen and SouthPointVW.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at SouthPointVW.com. In the market for a new vehicle, or might be, maybe the snow last week was a great lesson to say, I need to drive a safer car. Cars skidding all over the road. You want a vehicle that can handle that weather? And if you do end up in the unfortunate situation of a car wreck, don't you want one of the top safety picks in the country by the IIHS? That's Volkswagen. 9 different IIHS top safety picks, the highest safety designation. You get all the style, feel, performance of luxury, great costs, great pricing as well. When you look at the New Year's sales event still going on right now at South Point Volkswagen, what more could you want? Matt, I like to buy American cars. I get it. What if I told you all their vehicles are manufactured at their Chattanooga, Tennessee plant, so you're still supporting American jobs? Great engineering, supporting American jobs. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction? All right, let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference, the Georgia Bulldogs.
Georgia offensive lineman Monroe Feeling, who started the final 5 games of the season at left tackle, he could be limited or could miss all of spring practice after having surgery. He had shoulder surgery, but is expected to be full strength in time for the 2025 season. He's a junior on an offensive line that lost 4 starters from last year's team.
The Auburn Tigers.
Omar Mabson won't even have to change his jersey. Well, I guess a little bit. Omar Mabson is a 3-star running back from Auburn High School. He is now committed to the Auburn Tigers. He's a 2026 running back who reclassified for 2025, so he will be joining Auburn for this coming football season. 5'9", 200-pounder, the number 66 running back in the country since reclassifying, of course, the 26th commit for Auburn's class.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Defensive lineman Ari Slocum committed to Arkansas. He's out of Farmerville up in Union Parish. A big defensive lineman, 6'4", 280. He picked the Hogs over Mizzou, Houston, Purdue, and others. He's the 9th commit for Sam Pittman and his 2026 class.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
2026 4-star interior offensive lineman Brandon Anderson has decommitted from Tennessee. He's out of Kennesaw, Georgia. He's a 4-star. Had been committed. He's the nation's number 277 overall prospect, the number 23 interior offensive lineman. Vols now with 7 commits for 2026. One more. All right, Muse. I just do whatever Muse tells me to do. There you have it. That is Around the SEC. A Monday show is brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows door siding, Relief Windows, ReliefWindows.com with a lifetime transferable warranty. All right, let me knock out a break, y'all. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 1. Glad to have you hanging out with us here. We opened the show today kind of with a thought about Joe Brady backing out of the Saints search and obviously Aaron Glenn picking the Jets and where that leaves the Saints. Something else that transpired this weekend was current Saints assistants leaving, including Klint Kubiak taking a lateral, making a lateral movement, taking the OC job in Seattle. So I do want to get to that. We'll do that in about 18 minutes right after the top of the hour. So let me come back. When we come back, college football officials are meeting to discuss the possibility of some pretty, what could be some pretty transformative rule changes in the sport. I got some thoughts on it. We'll get to it next. It's
AFR.
We're brought to you by Action Industries, proud partner of LSU Athletics. I'll give you the website. It's hard to remember, so I say it slowly in a bunch. It's Action, INDINC.com. So Action Industries Incorporated. What you do need to know about Action, though, is this. They are now going on 43 years old. They service the petrochemical refinery markets. Their safety rating beats the industry average. Remember, if you're hiring businesses to come work inside the fence, you know this, but you don't get hired if you don't have an exemplary safety rating. Check with Action Industries. But also for a business like Action that over the course of 4 decades relies so much on repeat business, you don't get rehired if you don't do quality work. Well, they've done that obviously for more than 4 decades. It's Action Industries. And they also have a separate turnaround division, the Advanced Turnaround Group. So when it comes time for those turnaround projects, remember the Advanced Turnaround Group, part of Action Industries.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
All right, wrapping up hour number 1. Hey, remember, Hester and T-Bob are in Mobile all week for Senior Bowl. It's a great week. They're in Mobile. Like the entire NFL descends upon Mobile for Senior Bowl week, and we're glad the guys are there. So I know earlier today they got to visit with Walter Nolan, great former Texas A&M and Ole Miss defensive tackle. So it's one of those events where we go to SEC Media Days, for example, and there's 50 radio stations and over 1,000 credentialed media. You go to the Senior Bowl, and it's just not as I don't want to say not as. I mean, it is a well-covered event, but it's just different. And so those guys go there, and they've built a great relationship with Jim Nagy. I know Muse has as well. Has had him on Eagle 98.1 Game Day. So it's a great thing for those guys to be there. Love great content all week, so make sure you're checking that out as well. And Ross Jackson is also in Mobile covering the Senior Bowl for LouisianaSports.net, keeping an eye on the Saints. Remember, the Saints brass today flew up to Philadelphia. At least the report was they were intending to fly to Philadelphia today to interview Kellen Moore for the head coaching job. Of course, the Eagles punched their ticket to the Super Bowl. They got 2 weeks, but so obviously he's got business to attend to, isn't going to fly down to New Orleans. So the Saints went to see him. We'll see how that may go. One of the notable, so today, Monday at the Senior Bowl, is measurement day. It's when everybody checks in and they get measured, right? Weight, height, how big are your quads? How big are your biceps? Do you have perfect vision? All that stupid stuff. Wingspan. And of course, the hand measurement is one of the very notable measurements there. And one of the things coming out of the Senior Bowl that's getting a lot of attention is that Jalen Milroe, apparently very small hands. Jalen Milroe's measurements, 6 foot. is that 6'1" or 6 foot? Height 6'014. I guess that's 6
and a quarter
foot,
is what I'm thinking. 6 and a quarter.
Well, wouldn't a quarter be 2.5?
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, anyway, 220 pounds. So he's just over 6 feet tall, 220 pounds, and his hands were 86 centimeters.
I don't know what that means either.
No, so it would be 8.6 inches were his hands. So under 9 inches. And they measure, so if you hold your hand open, they measure from pinky to thumb, right? And that's your hand. So you hear like 9-inch, 10, 11-inch hands, whatever. That's what they measure, is that distance. And so Jalen Milroe's was less than 9 inches. And 9 inches is considered a small hand. So Jalen Milroe actually has a tiny hand, which might explain why he's inaccurate, generally a terrible thrower of the football. So expect to hear a lot of conversation about Jalen Milroe and his tiny hands out of this week. But it is interesting because I want to hear what Hester and T-Bob have to say, because every year that's always a giant conversation. I remember Joe Burrow had 9-inch hands, and so that became a big thing that year. Kenny Pickett, and he wore a glove like Senior Bowl practice. That became this big conversation and controversy around Kenny Pickett wearing a glove at the Senior Bowl. It's like, well, can he not grip the football or his hands, whatever. I think my point is I don't really care how big your hands are. Either you can throw it or you can't. You're accurate or you're not, whatever. But anyway, expect Jalen Milroe's tiny hands to become a major topic. The other thing that may be more relevant to people here is Will Campbell. And I don't think Will Campbell's at the Senior Bowl. I think Emory Jones is. Underclassmen are allowed to go to the Senior Bowl now. Emory Jones is there. Will Campbell isn't. But be it now or at the Combine, something that we're going to anticipate hearing is Will Campbell's arm length. And hat tip to Shea Dixon, because I remember this very well. Shea Dixon and I this year were going to WBRZ to film Sports Takeover with Michael Cobble, which we do every Tuesday during the football season, have for about 3-4 years now, something like that. And we got to talking about draft and all that stuff. I don't know what led us down the road, but Shea said Campbell could end up moving to guard. I'm like, Campbell moving to guard? What are you talking about? He's like, just be ready. You're going to hear this. A lot of scouts, and Shea's obviously in the recruiting world, so you have a lot of scouts there, but a lot of NFL scouts were starting to whisper that they think Will Campbell's arm length is too short to be a tackle in the NFL. So there's some school of thought that Campbell may end up moving to guard in the NFL because of his arm length, which sounds absurd to me, but I'm not a scout. I don't know. So just something to file away, because some of these conversations you're going to hear repeated from now until the draft there at the end of April. So just file it away. All right, it's after further review. Hey, make sure you grab plenty of Evamore. Delicious, great tasting Evamore. EVAMOR, evamore.com, evamore.com. Natural artesian water. Always have a bottle of Evamore here on the set. You can see it. If you want to find a retailer near you that sells Evamore, go to the website, evamore.com, and you'll see all the the retailer locations that sell Evamore. Like, they have a national deal with 7-Eleven. You can go to 7-Eleven in Chicago. You'll see Evamore there. It's a Louisiana product. So quit drinking that crappy, crinkly water bottle from Texas. Drink a better product, a healthier product, and a product from Louisiana. It's Evamore. EVAMOR. Drink Evamore. This week, the college football officiating CFO is a conference that happens annually. And there's several things that this group of officials from all the conferences are discussing, and one of them is the potential use of centralized replay for the college football playoff. Now, I would like to see this throughout all of college football, but right now, when they go to replay, it's done on a conference-by-conference basis. So like the SEC centralized replay, the office is in Birmingham. What this is suggesting is for the playoff, it wouldn't be that. It would be a centralized replay having nothing to do with any of the conferences. So the SEC officials called the championship game this year, but what they're saying is they would find independent officials not affiliated with a conference that would do this. I think that'd be great for all of college football. And there's been a lot of conversations. Brett Yormark from the Big 12 called for the CFP to address the officiating standards following the no call on the targeting in the Peach Bowl. Ryan Day was very vocal after it became known that opponents' offenses hadn't been called for holding against Ohio State from September 21st until the championship game. It was like 800 snaps, which is incredible to think that actually happened, but it did. So they're looking at centralized replay. Also, possibility of a coach's challenge like in the NFL, what to do with players faking injuries, disconcerting signals calls, which we've become very familiar with around LSU here over these past couple of years, changes to helmet comms, the substitution penalty that allowed Dan Lanning to get one over on Ohio State in the regular season, and then, one word, targeting. Y'all know how I feel about targeting. My contention is the spirit of the rule is good. The implementation and execution is atrocious. We'd only be kicking young people out of football games for hard plays. If there are clearly dangerous plays, then you can eject somebody. But there has to be targeting 1, targeting 2, like you have in the NBA, where if you have a flagrant 1, flagrant 2, or a common foul or an intentional foul, like you've got to be able to differentiate, which is very plain to see in many instances, the difference between the two. So you're not ejecting kids for those types of plays that by the letter of the law are targeting, but are not dangerous or intentional. And then you're making referees make a split-second tough decision. They got to change this rule.
AFR.
Brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020, 924-2020, or williamsoneye.com. If you've ever looked at the Twitter account LASIK, which is actually perfect. They offer free LASIK to all officials if you ever see it. It's like an ongoing bit in football. But if you're not an official, then call the Williamson Eye Center. Set up that free consultation. Call 924-2020, 924-2020, 924-2020. Williamson Eye Center has 8 locations around Greater Baton Rouge to serve you. The newest location is in the River Parishes down in Lusher. So no matter where you are in Greater Baton Rouge, there's a Williamson Eye Center location near you, and they can handle everything you got. Eye care, eyewear, and eye surgery. So eye care, you need to have your eye exam, Williamson Eye Center. Eyewear, if you wear contacts or glasses, they got the optical shop to where you can buy your contacts and glasses. But if you want to ditch those contacts and glasses forever, start with that free consultation. Free at the Williamson Eye Center. 924-2020 or williamsoneye.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Cannaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news. Another suspension for Jimmy Butler in Miami amid his trade demand. The Heat suspending him a third time, according to ESPN's Shams Charania. This one indefinite. And the latest suspension came today after Butler walked out of the morning shoot-around after he was informed the team's not planning on starting him moving forward. Miami to start Haywood Highsmith in his place tonight. Cowboys today introduced new head coach Brian Schottenheimer, who has never served as a head coach for any NFL team. Owner Jerry Jones said the hire's as big a risk as you can take. Jones likely had one thought process behind the move, says ESPN NFL analyst Ryan Clark.
If I'm looking at Jerry's hire, here's what I say. Jerry said, okay, I'm not going to be able to win with this team no matter what coach I bring in. This roster isn't good enough. Let me get somebody I like. Let me get somebody that I can push around. Let me get somebody that's not going to push back on the things I want to do to continue to build the brand of the Cowboys.
Steelers owner and president Art Rooney II said securing a quarterback is the team's priority, and it is his preference to sign either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson this offseason.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Cannon. Coming up Tuesday, the Bills and Commanders were close but couldn't finish the job. I'll tell you what they need to do to get over the hump next season. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
That's right.
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, Matt!
Hey, shut up, kid. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Muso. And Mr. Toby Dumpley. All right. We're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there. Make it a good one. We'll talk to Ross Jackson next hour. He's in Mobile covering the Senior Bowl. Also, Trey'Dez Green made his basketball debut for LSU Saturday against Alabama. I got some thoughts on that. We'll get to it in 1 hour from right now. So you have to go, come back. I'll talk about Trey'Dez in detail in 1 hour from right now. So over the weekend, the Saints coaching search staff, organization as a whole, got just like an avalanche of bad news. Joe Brady elected to stay in Buffalo, withdrawing from consideration. Candidly, I do wonder sometimes when I see stories like that if the coach is really staying put, or if they were advised they weren't going to get the job, and so that was an opportunity to save face or stay ahead of the resume. Just, I'm withdrawing from consideration means you weren't going to get the job. With Brady, I think that there was a really legitimate opportunity for him to get that job. But anyway, the other thing we saw over the weekend was a variety of hires of Saints' current or former staff members to different places, and in some instances, lateral moves. Like, we saw Dennis Allen, the former Saints head coach, get the defensive coordinator job with the Chicago Bears. That's really interesting because, well, first of all, the Saints play the Bears next year, so they'll face off against Dennis Allen. And I think Dennis Allen has proven to be a really good defensive coordinator. It was always my contention with Dennis Allen. Lieutenant, not a general. And during his time in New Orleans, Dennis Allen was a very good defensive coordinator. There were a couple of years there, his last couple as a DC, where they were top 5 in both rush defense and pass defense. And he took over one of the worst defenses in the NFL in 2015 when Rob Ryan was fired into 2016, and then turned the Saints into a consistent top 10 defense. Great defensive coordinator. I think it's a fantastic hire for Ben Johnson there in Chicago. But on top of DA, we've seen other coaches leave for what appears to be lateral moves. Now, Declan Doyle is also going to Chicago as the offensive coordinator. Ben Johnson is the head coach, and he's likely going to call plays and all that stuff. But Declan Doyle was a Saints offensive assistant who is going with Dennis Allen now as the offensive coordinator with the Chicago Bears. So DA and Declan Doyle are both in Chicago. But the bigger news was probably Klint Kubiak, and then what the Cincinnati Bengals announced on Monday, and that longtime Saints linebackers coach Michael Hodges is making a lateral move to Cincinnati. So Kubiak, if you missed it over the weekend, Klint Kubiak, after one season as the Saints offensive coordinator, has been hired as the new offensive coordinator in Seattle. Now, Seattle had hired Grubb, who was the offensive coordinator for the Washington Huskies. Kalen DeBoer hired him at Alabama, and before he ever coached a day at Alabama, he took the job as the OC with the Seattle Seahawks, and then got fired by McDonald after one season there in Seattle, despite the fact that the Seahawks were 10-7. Whatever. And part of the fan reaction, or part of the scuttle around the Saints, were everybody's leaving, lateral moves, they can't wait to get out of town. And then the same thing happened with Michael Hodges, who on Monday was hired by the Bengals as their linebackers coach. He's been the Saints linebackers coach since 2017. Now he's going to Cincinnati as linebackers coach. And so the fear in the narrative is everybody's leaving. The reality is, you're bringing in a new coach who's going to hire his own staff anyway, right? The only real exception would be if the Saints retain Darren Rizzi. And I don't know that there's a great chance of that happening. I'm pushing for that a little bit more here, not because I think Darren Rizzi's the right guy or the best guy for the job, but because I think that's a good one-year bridge as you tank in 2025 to have a more appealing job in 2026. Now, I don't know that the Saints are going to approach it that way, but it's what the Raiders just did. They retained Antonio Pierce for a year, and it was a bridge to their guy. The Patriots just did it with Gerard Mayo. I don't think necessarily that was their intention initially, but they promoted Gerard Mayo. I think they were projected to win 4 games. They won 4 games, and a better option, and Mike Vrabel was available, and so they hired Vrabel. It was a more attractive situation now this year. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. You retain, we've seen it in college. It happened with Zach Arnett at Mississippi State after Mike Leach's passing. They promoted Arnett. He was there for a year. It was a disaster. They were able to settle everything, and then they went and found their guy. Well, it remains to be seen if it's the right guy or if that's the right way to go about doing it, but I'm just saying it's not altogether out of the ordinary for this to happen. But if the Saints were to retain Darren Rizzi, then Rizzi would probably retain a lot of the staff. That's what Dennis Allen did. Remember, Dennis Allen got the job in 2021, or I guess after the 21 season, or going into 22. And he retained Pete Carmichael as his offensive coordinator. And he retained Ryan Nielsen, and they brought and Chris Richard and promoted them to co-DCs. And he retained Darren Rizzi as his special teams coordinator. He retained Michael Hodges as his linebackers coach. So, there was a lot of staff retention. And that was kind of intentional. It was part of why you kept Dennis Allen. It was to say, look, we've had this great run of success. Let's not upset the apple cart here. Let's see if we can kind of continue this run of success. And it didn't work. Objectively didn't work. But if you retained Darren Rizzi, you might have retained Klint Kubiak. You might have retained Michael Hodges. those opportunities would be there if you retain Darren Rizzi. But that's kind of the only way. And if you don't retain Darren Rizzi, which, I mean, you look at the odds and everything, it seems like Mike McCarthy or now Kellen Moore are the guys that have shot up the odds list to be the next Saints coach. Who knows what they're going to do? I mean, Mickey feels a little unpredictable at this moment. But if, in fact, you hire anyone other than Darren Rizzi, all those coaches are going to be out of a job. So if you're Klint Kubiak, you're sitting there looking, going, all right, well, I mean, yes, I'm under contract with the New Orleans Saints, but look at all the people they're looking to hire. There's one guy that's a defensive coach, Anthony Weaver. That's it, the DC for the Dolphins. That's the only defensive-minded coach who might retain Kubiak. Everyone else, Mike McCarthy, offensive coach, probably bringing his own guy. Mike Kafka from the Giants, offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator. Cliff Kingsbury, offensive coordinator. I mean, you were pursuing Joe Brady, who elected to stay, but another offensive guy. I mean, everybody's been an offensive guy, except Anthony Weaver. So, I mean, Aaron Glenn was a defensive guy, but obviously he picked the Jets. But by and large, it goes to show you they're looking to hire an offensive coach. And if you hire an offensive coach, that guy's going to call plays or bring in his own coordinator. So Kubiak could probably be out of a job anyway. So he's just staying ahead of his resume. Seattle needed an offensive coordinator. It was bird in hand. He took it. I don't blame him at all for doing that. I think it's the smart thing for Kubiak to do. I'd say the same thing for Michael Hodges. He's been in New Orleans since 2017. He's actually tutored some really good linebackers when you think about it. Demario Davis has been awesome. I mean, you had Alex Anzalone, you had Caden Ellis, you had Zach Bond, although you didn't really develop Zach Bond here. He went to Philly and became Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Pete Werner has been a good player for you since drafting him when he's been healthy. So he's a good coach, but what's to say that he'd be retained by a new coach? Had an opportunity to go to the Bengals, who with one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and potentially be a playoff team and go to that defense with their new defensive coordinator. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it that makes sense. So in any event, my contention is with New Orleans, the situation is very bad. Like, this isn't, when we talked about Joe Brady, people said, oh, the optics of the Saints job. It's not optics. It's reality. This isn't just the perception. Like, this is your actual reality. You are a bad job. Your cap situation's bad. Your roster's bad. You're old. It's not a good situation, which is why you're having a hard time being attractive to the top candidates. But in this instance of these guys who are currently on staff taking other jobs, I think that's less they're trying to get out of New Orleans and more they know when a new coach comes in, they're probably going to be out of a job anyway. So if you have a chance to take a job now, you take the job now. So I don't read too much into Klint Kubiak or Michael Hodges or Declan Doyle taking other jobs. It's probably a smart thing to do because they were probably going to be out of a job in New Orleans anyway. All right, it's After Further Review. We're glad you're with us. Monday show is brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Energy efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank vinyl siding. They do it all. And remember, a true lifetime transferable warranty, Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. All right, y'all. When we come back, two bits of LSU news I want to get to. Number one, a former Tiger you probably saw has been promoted to an NFL defensive coordinator role, which I love. I want to give you some context on Kelvin Shepard. And the LSU baseball team scrimmaged on Sunday. Our guy Hunt Palmer was there. A few things he saw that I'd like to react to. We'll get to that as we continue. It's AFR. Stay here.
After Further Review.
I almost said Locked on LSU. That was the L. It's not Locked on LSU. It's AFR. And AFR is presented by Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. Get Gordon and get it done. You've been injured in an accident. It's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for more than 30 years. Get Gordon and get it done. The website's a great resource, but if you'd rather talk to someone, you can always do that. You can call 888-8888, 888-8888. When you call, you'll speak to someone, a living, breathing human, and they'll help direct you where you need to go. And it doesn't matter where you are in Louisiana. Gordon and his team have offices all over the state. So wherever you are in Louisiana, you can get Gordon and get it done. So call 888-8888, 888-8888, or go to getgordon.com. Of course, we always tell you as well about the many different NIL deals that Gordon's done. So many other community endeavors that Gordon and his team are a part of. You can learn more if you go to getgordon.com and hit the community tab. Get Gordon and get it done.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Man, congrats to Kelvin Shepard. Former LSU linebacker has been promoted to defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. I have to check. I don't know that a former LSU player has ever been a coordinator in the NFL. But Shep is that, and now he's on track. I mean, when you're a coordinator in the NFL, you are on a track to be a head coach in the NFL. I mean, there are only 32 defensive coordinators. I mean, there are only 64 offensive or defensive coordinators in the league. So it's amazing, man. And this does age me. Shep's, I looked at when I saw this, he's 37 years old, which is a little mind-blowing. And I'll just give you a really quick story. So you might remember Kelvin Shepard, who played at LSU. He played under Les. He redshirted in 2006, so he's part of the 2007 national championship team, and then became a starter in 8, 9, and 10 in his third, fourth, and fifth years. In his fourth and fifth seasons in 2009, 2010, each year he went over 100 tackles, leading LSU in tackles. In 2010, he was first. He was consensus first team All-SEC, had 116 tackles, led LSU. He was awesome. And I remember, so this show started. The first football season AFR was on the air was the 2010 football season. That was the year where LSU went to the Cotton Bowl and beat Texas A&M, if you remember that game. And we stayed and did shows at the Hilton Anatole in Dallas, which was the team hotel. And after the game, went back, and Hanny was doing Eagle 98.1 Game Day back in studio. And so I was doing interviews with the players and kicking them back for the postgame show. And I remember sitting at the Hilton Anatole for a good long while, man, with Kelvin Shepard in what was his his last game as an LSU Tiger. He's pretty reflective and just awesome to chat with. And he went on to be a third-round pick of the Bills, played just under a decade in the league, and bounced around a bit in the NFL. But played for the Dolphins, played for the Colts. But in 2020, the COVID year, his career ended, and he was hired by Ed Ogeron as the director of player development. And I don't mean to minimize that role, but the director of player development is kind of one of those like off-field fabricated titles. I'm not saying that the job is unimportant, but it's not to say like when you're an on-field staffer or an analyst where you're working with the team and game plan and scouting and coaching on field, all that sort of stuff. That's more relational and helping the players with what they need, away from the field. But Shep wanted to coach, and remember the context of 2020. So that was when Bo Pelini was hired to replace Dave Aranda. So Pelini comes in, of course, it's the COVID year, and LSU has the worst defense in the history of the program, and they fire Bo Pelini after 2020. Well, remember, Pelini also was your DC, but coached linebackers. That was his position group. So when you fired Pelini, you hired, remember, Durante Jones. Well, Durante Jones coached safeties. He was a secondary coach. So you needed someone to coach your linebackers. Well, Kelvin Shepard's hand was in the air. He wanted that job. Shep wanted to interview for it and wanted that job. And he was considered for it. But at the same time is when Dan Campbell got the job in Detroit in 2021. And ultimately, Shep went up, interviewed. They liked him. They wanted to add him to staff. But he was wanting a job as LSU's linebackers coach. LSU went a different direction. Shep gets hired as the outside linebackers coach with the Lions. He was in that role. Ultimately, they combined, and he coached all the linebackers there for the last 3 seasons, and now he's the Lions defensive coordinator. Interestingly enough, if you remember, the linebackers coach that ultimately Ed Ogeron did hire in 2021 was a guy by the name of Blake Baker, who was here for 1 year. Ogeron got fired. Baker went to Missouri, and then obviously was brought back now by Brian Kelly as the defensive coordinator, and Shep is the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. So as they say, all's well that ends well, I guess, for both of these men. But congrats to Kelvin Shepard, 37 years old and a defensive coordinator in the NFL, and on a track with success there in Detroit, which there's no reason to think he won't be successful with the amount of talent they have there. I mean, that Detroit defense this season, was 5th in rush defense, 7th in scoring defense, 7th in red zone defense. They were the best in the NFL on third down. I mean, they got a ton of talent on that defense, and he's inherited a great group. So good luck to Kelvin Shepard, who has been hired as the new defensive coordinator there for the Detroit Lions. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Supper Club. They're closed today. We'll talk some LSU baseball here in just a second, but let me remind you about Supper Club. They're closed today. Remember, closed Sunday, Monday. Reopen Tuesday, so Tuesday to Saturday. Want to remind you, we are inside of 3 weeks. 2 weeks from Friday is Valentine's Day. If you haven't booked Valentine's Day, well, I got bad news. Valentine's Day is booked at Supper Club. You're not getting in on Valentine's Day. But they do, I checked today, there's still some avails for Thursday and Saturday. Friday is Valentine's Day. That's booked solid. You're not getting in. Thursday, Saturday, if you want to go out for Valentine's Day on Thursday or Saturday, you can still get in. There's some limited seating available, limited reservations. So if you're thinking about that for Valentine's Day, I really wouldn't wait. Like, it's going to book. It's going to sell out. If you're interested to try Supper Club, is a great way to do it. And they're great at all, like, these special add-ons. Like, if you want flowers at the table for her when you get to your table, they can arrange that. They have a really cool feature with like custom drink toppers, where if you send them a photograph, they can have a custom drink topper made. So when your drink comes to the table, your martini, your glass of wine, your cocktail, whatever it is, you'll have a custom drink topper. Maybe it's a photo from your wedding or your first date or something like that. Send them that photo. They can make a custom drink topper. So many of those things are all part of the Supper Club experience. Of course, you'll have the best meal you'll ever have. It's at Supper Club. Get your reservation. SupperClubBTR.com. 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 Hat tip, Hunt Palmer. was out at the box on Sunday. LSU baseball scrimmaged, and so Hunt was out there covering it for LouisianaSports.net. He's got a full write-up on the scrimmage from Sunday, his takeaways. If you want to go read it, it's there. It's free, LouisianaSports.net. Tell you all the time, bookmark it, make it part of your day every single day. LSU, Saints, SEC, Pelicans, we got all the stuff there for you for free. But you can go read Hunt's preseason scrimmage report, and he'll have tons of LSU baseball coverage there. Of note, and as Hunt noted, it was not a very good day defensively, and the pitchers that we saw were Cooper Williams, Dalton Beck, Cade Woods, and Dylan Thompson. So you didn't get to see really the frontline guys, which is fine. But I think there was a couple of things of greater note. While it wasn't a great day defensively, as Hunt noted, the first unit that went out there, the starting lineup, a lot of what we expected. Bear Jones at first, Dickinson at second. We saw Milam and Braswell alternate third and short. In left field, it was Derek Curiel. In center, it was Chris Stanfield. But in right, it was Josh Pearson. Now, remember, Terrio was here on Friday, and we talked about Terrio mentioned his feeling that Pearson and Larson are two guys that are returning starters that could lose their jobs because Derek Curiel is likely going to man left field, and Jake Brown is likely going to play in right. Well, Jake Brown went to the bench in this first scrimmage, and it was Pearson who played right field. The other interesting note was behind the plate, we've been wondering, would it be Cade Arrambide? Would it be Blaze Priester? Well, it was Arrambide who struggled defensively, as Hunt noted, but with the bat, he said he was excellent in two at-bats, hitting a pair of balls right on the screws. The first, 107-mile-an-hour line out to center. The second was a towering double that one-hopped the wall in left center. So Arrambide brought the bat. The glove struggled here early, which is interesting because you would have thought the opposite with he and Priester. But I'll remind you, this is what Jay Johnson said on Friday about Cade Arrambide, the freshman catcher. This was Jay Johnson's season preview there with the media.
Cade Arrambide, really pleased to get Cade here. And he had an outstanding fall. I mean, I think he hit over 360 or right at 360. The bats were way more professional than you would anticipate for somebody that hasn't had exposure to this level of play. He's obviously got power. Again, the arm strength really jumps off the page at you. The two outside games against Samford and Louisiana Lafayette, this is always my sign of a good catcher, is you don't even know or remember who's playing back there. That's how it felt. Like he was very in control of the game. And, you know, against Coach Deggs and Louisiana Lafayette, that's the most chaotic offense, and I mean that as a compliment in college baseball, and he did a great job there. So he's well out ahead of maybe where you would think he would be.
So a nice day offensively for Cade Arrambide. A little bit of a struggle defensively. We'll see how that goes. Again, he and Priester were expecting to rotate. And then Tanner Reeves is another name to know. He's a JUCO bat. Hunt noted that Reeves homered to deep right center, 386 feet. That's a guy who they may have to find. Who's kind of a guy that can play anywhere on the field, but a guy they may have to find a way into the lineup. This was Jay back in June talking about Tanner Reeves.
Tanner Reeves was the first commitment. He committed actually in the spring of 2023. It was always to come for this next year. And he had a phenomenal freshman season. I think he was maybe the country leader in home runs as a freshman. And I don't think he hit as many home runs this year, but he ended up hitting over 370. He was the MVP of the Junior College World Series, I believe. Or he broke the hits record in the Junior College World Series. His team won the national championship. Very versatile player. A guy that might be able to play every position but pitcher and catcher because he's a great athlete. Left-handed hitter, a player that I've had a ton of success with.
There's a lot of new names that we're going to get to know, and guys that are going to have a pretty significant impact on this team. That's what happens when you go sign the number one portal class and the number one high school class. Those are a couple: Cade Arrambide, Tanner Reeves. All right, it's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break. We're glad you're with us here. Monday shows are brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. We will talk to Ross Jackson in 45 minutes. He's in Mobile for the Senior Bowl. Remember, our coverage all week at the Senior Bowl is presented by L'Auberge Baton Rouge. When we come back, you might have seen on Sunday that Elijah Haven, the quarterback from Dunham, the number one quarterback in the country for 2027, signed an NIL deal with a New Orleans-based company. If you're an LSU fan, don't do backflips yet. I have some thoughts on that. We'll get to it at AFR.
After further review.
We're brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. Hey, y'all, by the way, with the Super Bowl coming up in less than 2 weeks, Rouse's right now has a Lombardi tour going on right now with the Saints Lombardi Trophy. If you go to the website, Rouse's.com, right there on the homepage, they got the flipper, or you can check it out on social media as well. But they have the Saints Lombardi Trophy tour. You can click on that, and it'll show you all the locations where the Lombardi Trophy is going to be at which Rouse's locations coming up. So make sure that you check that out. You can go take pictures with it. I'm looking here today, Monday. They're in Belle Chase, on Belle Chase Highway in Gretna until 7 p.m. So if you're in the New Orleans area, you can go check it out there. But anyway, go to the website. You can see all the locations where the Saints Lombardi Trophy is on the Super Bowl tour with Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Of course, make your groceries. Download the app, Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. Rouse's, this feels like home.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
During the fall, Elijah Haven came in studio with us. And if you missed that conversation, man, I would highly recommend you go check it out. It's on YouTube. Of course, all of our on-demand audio and video presented by Brett Golf. But if you go to YouTube, you can find it on the AFR LSU channel. I actually got it embedded in the article at LouisianaSports.net that talks about Elijah Haven, which we're about to discuss here. But back in the fall, Elijah Haven sat in studio, and I told you afterwards that was about as impressive a conversation as I've ever had with a high school athlete. The very short list of high school athletes that I've been able to interview over the last 20 years that stand out in a positive way. Russell Shepard, Keelan Moses on that list, certainly. Elijah Haven. Miles Brennan was awesome in high school. Colin Hurley. Interesting, a lot of quarterbacks, right? But the difference is when Elijah Haven sat in the studio in the fall, he was 15 years old. Now he turned 16 at the end of October. But you're talking about still a guy that's only in his sophomore year of high school. And as calm, confident, polished, impressive a young person as you could ever imagine. Like his parents must be really proud. And on top of that, he's also a physical freak show and the number one quarterback in the country for 2027. Well, Elijah Haven has done an NIL deal with Matt Bauer's Automotive Group. They announced it on a press release on Sunday. And this is totally legal. The LHSAA back in 2022 allowed for student athletes to benefit financially from NIL. When NIL went live, there was nothing to prohibit this anymore. So Haven is a very high-profile prospect for the class of 2027, as you know, and now he's got an NIL deal with Matt Bowers, who owns a dozen car dealerships around the area. Matt Bowers is notable, if you remember, he's the guy that after the NOLA no call, he's the guy that did the billboard campaign around not only Louisiana but Atlanta, where the Super Bowl was that year, where the Saints got robbed, billboards, and the NFL blew it, billboards. It's also worth noting that Matt Bowers has been accused by Gail Benson of maybe not the greatest conduct in blocking her attempt to buy certain car dealerships. Again, that's just for the record. That's not to say anything about Matt Bowers. I don't have a personal relationship with Matt, don't know him. I just know what you all know, right? He's a very public, notable Saints fan who's spent a lot of money on stuff like that. There was a time where Alvin Kamara, remember when Alvin Kamara's home was for sale? People were like, why is Alvin Kamara selling his house? And he went on to say, look, it's an asset. And he said, Matt Bauer said I could stay with him if I need to. So anyway, point is, Matt's a very notable guy and a very public-facing guy. And so you may see this and go, awesome, Louisiana business, doing an NIL deal with Elijah Haven, keep him in Louisiana at LSU. Not so fast. Turns out Matt Bowers is an Ole Miss alum. So I don't know I have no idea whatsoever. I've not spoken to Elijah or anyone in his family since last night with that. I mean, I'll try to reach out to him to see what the latest is there. But I think more than anything, there's a couple of takeaways here. Number one, you should know, and LSU's already offered Elijah Haven, but everybody has, and everybody will. There's certain lessons you have to learn from the whole Bryce Underwood saga, which is you're going to have a fight on your hands until the bitter end when you're talking about a player of that caliber at that position. So nothing is going to be easy until the very end. That's number one. I am also fascinated to see how revenue share, which it will go live as part of the NCAA House settlement. I am fascinated to see how revenue share might alter NIL. It may have no difference. It may completely reshape the way all of these conversations are had. Because right now, what is happening is pay for play. NIL through the collectives is just pay for play. And it's happening. Everybody knows it's happening. Nobody's trying to hide it. And the NCAA can't enforce it. So it's just what it is. But what is going to happen, I'll try to oversimplify this. When revenue share goes into play here in the spring, summer, for next year, that is supposed to, for all intents and purposes, eliminate NIL as it exists now. What I mean is pay for play. Businesses will still be able to do true NIL deals with student athletes. And that is going to be monitored through a third party, through Deloitte, who will independently monitor that. So, for example, if Matt Bowers wants to do a deal with Elijah Haven, that deal will go to Deloitte to determine if it is a fair market value deal. And if it is, it'll go forward. If not, boom, can't do it. So does that eliminate those? Or does that just force more money under the table like it was for years and years and years? My contention is, and this is my opinion, that if you have wealthy boosters that are trying to funnel money, resources, assets to student athletes or players, recruits, to give their team an advantage, they're going to find a way to do it. They'll bend their way around the rule however they can. I'm not accusing Matt Bowers of anything, just to be very clear. What he's doing here is completely within the rules, and I don't know if he's trying to do it to benefit Ole Miss or his dealerships or whatever. But it is interesting because we're in this very pivotal time. Because I could see a scenario hypothetically where, let's say, again, and I want to be clear, I don't know if this is Matt Bowers' intent, is to help Ole Miss. I'm assuming that is, but I don't know that. But let's say, so here's a prospect for 2027 that come 2027 with rev share being how it is, I may not be able to do an NIL deal as it exists now. But what if I do it on the front end? What if I do it right now? Because I have from now until rev share goes into play to dole out that cash, right? Maybe this is his way of trying to be proactive. Or maybe not. But it's just a fascinating scenario, hypothetically, how all of this is working and shaping out. Now, if you're curious, when Elijah Haven was in studio back in, was that October? It was October. That'd be just before his birthday. I mean, it'd be just about to turn 16. But I asked him if he grew up an LSU fan. So if you're an LSU fan wondering about Elijah Haven, this is what he said.
I did. Yeah, I guess you could say a dream come true. You know, you grow up watching LSU and, you know, players like Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels. And, you know, it's just a blessing to have an opportunity to be a recruit now and, you know, to be able to go see coaches like Joe Sloan and Coach Kelly, and I'm just very thankful unto God and grew up as a little kid watching, and to be in this position now, I'm just extremely grateful.
Yeah, when you're 15, your entire perception of LSU football is Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels. What a world to live in when you have no concept of the Les Miles era of offense. But so look, Elijah Haven said grew up an LSU fan. How much does that weigh into his decision? I don't know. The kid's got 2 years to make that decision. I'm not trying to overreact. It's just a very interesting story as this is playing out. And as you look at the LSU quarterback situation over the next 2 years, it's fascinating because you thought you had your depth and your sort of quarterback staircase built for the next 3 years. Okay, it's Nussmeier in 2025. And then you're handing it over to Underwood in 2026 and 2027. And then if Elijah Haven comes in 27, he sits behind Underwood for a year. And then it's Haven in 28, 29, perhaps maybe even to 2030. So you thought you had your quarterback staircase built for the next 5 years. Well, Underwood defecting to Michigan really threw a monkey wrench. Because now in 2025, you've got Nussmeier and you had to go get Michael Van Buren. So you got Nuss, Michael Van Buren, and Colin Hurley. And again, you don't have a quarterback signed in this class, so you don't have a freshman, a 25 freshman coming in. So next year, Nuss is gone in 26. So in theory, you'd have Van Buren and Hurley if they both stay, which the chances of that I don't think are very good. Even if they did, you'd go into 27 with maybe one of those guys, unless if one left the year before and the other goes pro. So you could be looking at 27 where, as it stands right now, you wouldn't have a quarterback on the roster, which would really put a ton of emphasis on getting Elijah Haven in the class of 2027. I mean, that feels, just with the way that the quarterback position at LSU is built, because what you thought it was going to be with Underwood and now not having Underwood, Nuss saves you for 25. In 26, you could probably make it work with Van Buren or Hurley. But boy, I don't want to overstate it, but having Elijah Haven in Baton Rouge for 2027 at what will be a pivotal point at quarterback for you as you rebuild that room, feels like as big a recruit for LSU since Leonard Fournette, which when LSU got Fournette and everyone had been aware of Fournette since he was in the 8th grade, I mean, it was just, that was one that you absolutely could not let get away. And boy, Haven feels like that a lot. So get to know the name. That's one we're going to talk about for a lot over the next 2 years. All right, it's After Further Review. We're glad you're with us. We're brought to you by Michelli Weighing and Measurement, Michelli.com, Michelli.com. Michelli with offices all over the country, more than 30 offices across 13 different states. If you weigh or measure something, Michelli sells, services, rents the products you use to weigh and measure. I saw on their LinkedIn earlier today, Michelli's up at a trade show up in Hot Springs, Arkansas at the end of this week and into next week. So if you're going to be up there, if you're listening in Arkansas, you're going to be at that trade show, check out our friends over at Michelli. The point is they're all over the country. And if you're looking for a new career, Michelli is hiring, not just at their 6 locations in Louisiana, but all over the country. So go to the website, hit the careers tab, Michelli.com, Michelli.com, Michelli, Michelli.com. Hit the careers tab, and you'll see all the jobs listed there and where you can apply at Michelli.com. Michelli Weighing and Measurement. At Michelli, we show the world what measurement can do. Okay, it's After Further Review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. In 30 minutes, Ross Jackson's here. We get you caught up on everything Saints coaching search. Why Joe Brady dropped out. Is Mike McCarthy the guy? What's going on with the Kellen Moore interview? Does Darren Rizzi still have a leg to stand on in this hiring process? And who are the Saints looking at in Mobile for the Senior Bowl? Ross Jackson from Louisiana SportsCenter from the Senior Bowl in 30 minutes from right now. We'll knock out a break. Muse will have Tigers in the pros. Stay here.
AFR.
Okay, y'all. We got the Great Arctic Blast of 2025 last week. It's crazy, man. Like a foot of snow in Baton Rouge in July or in January. Oh, July would have been crazy. That would have been apocalyptic. January still wild. But now that the great thaw out is happening, if you've noticed issues with your heater, call our friends at River City's 1 Hour Air. The big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side. You see them all over town. Your friends, your neighbors, your relatives, they've used River City's 1 Hour Air. So have I. Go to the website. Go to Google. Read the Google reviews. They got more than double the amount of 5-star Google reviews than the next closest competitor. I know a lot of people like to read Google reviews. At River City's 1 Hour Air, they encourage you to do it because you're going to see it with thousands of Baton Rougeans know, like what I know. The best people, the best technology, the best prices, the best work. They're the best. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. 752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Wrapping up hour number 2, Matthew Luigi Musso. Tigers in the pros.
No.
Tigers in the pros.
Leonardo?
They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
All right, let's start Conference Championship weekend. We'll start with Jaden Daniels.
Let's.
Commanders came up short, to say the least. They kind of got drubbed there. But Daniels put together a pretty solid day. He had 255 yards through the air, a touchdown. Did have the interception, but added 48 yards on the ground with a rushing score. So, I mean, you're looking at almost 300 total yards, 2 total touchdowns in his NFC Championship debut. Put a wrap on a great rookie season, and we'll look forward to what is next for Jaden Daniels in his NFL career.
He stinks.
What?
He stinks.
No.
He gave up 55 points.
No, yeah, he did. Yeah, he also he was responsible for what, three fumbles by his teammates.
Jaden Daniels gave up 55 points.
Yeah,
that's why the quarterback one-loss statistic is still stupid.
It's horrible. It's a horrible.
Jaden Daniels 0 for 1 in NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
It's like, really? That's
last week.
Clearly, I'm joking. Don't text me, tweet me, email me. Tongue firmly planted in cheek. Total sarcasm. I'm the one who picked the Commanders against the Lions when these two yokels didn't. Just a reminder. Just an FYI.
So last week, you might remember we told you about a couple of Tigers who were taking places, or filling in, I should say, on the Pro Bowl rosters. Danielle Hunter, as well as Brian Thomas. Well, Malik Neighbors as well here on Monday. Now we'll replace Amon-Ra St. Brown on the NFC Pro Bowl roster. That gives LSU 8 Pro Bowlers, mind you, here in this. You had something there.
Did Equanimous St. Brown make it? The Saints wide receiver?
He didn't.
He didn't.
Shocker. He did not.
So we got the other St. Brown.
Yeah.
We didn't get the good St. Brown.
Right. Malik Neighbors set a franchise record with 109 catches. Good for second in NFL history for a rookie, behind fellow Pro Bowler Brock Bowers. He also finished 7th in the league in receiving yards. So shout out to Neighbors. He'll get that. Former LSU defensive coordinator Durante Jones might soon be Vikings defensive coordinator. Jaguars defensive coordinator. Durante Jones. Threw myself off there. He was interviewing for the position on Monday. That came from NFL Media's Tom Pelissero. Of course, he spent the last 2 seasons in Minnesota. DB coach in 2020, then came to LSU, returned in 2022 as the DB's coach, and now might move on to a defensive coordinator with the Jaguars. One final note to get to: Alex Bregman's free agency continues to turn. Our guy Ari Alexander from what? You're just okay.
Jesse and Ari.
See, I forget about that. He's from KPRC2 in Houston. continues to report there has been mutual interest and a re-engaging in a reunion between the Astros and Alex Bregman, but the Astros have not budged off their 6-year, $156 million deal that Bregman already turned down, and that is unlikely to get done, with two sources confirming that to Ari. The teams who remain interested, apart from the Astros, are the Tigers, Jays, Red Sox, Cubs, the New York Mets, no longer an option in this race, according to a league source. We'll keep you posted. That's Tigers and the Pros.
Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com, lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Gentlemen, we are less than 2 weeks away from Valentine's Day. Don't screw it up. Go to Lee Michaels. 9 locations in all, 2 in Baton Rouge, a Corporate Boulevard in Bocage, Mall of Louisiana, Lafayette, New Orleans, Shreveport, and online at lmfj.com. They have select gifts. You can go to the website. You'll see the red box on the flipper, select gifts. Just hit that flipper right there. Tremendous necklaces, round diamond stud earrings. Crazy. So it's beautiful timepieces, tennis bracelets. So many great gift ideas right there at Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. lmfj.com. lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. All right, it's after further review. We are glad that you're aboard with us here. 2 hours in the books. Remember, you miss anything AFR On Demand presented by Brett Golf. Just go On Demand YouTube or podcast, search AFR LSU or AFR Saints for your LSU or Saints content. Or if you want the whole show, just search after further review. You'll see it right there. All right, Ross Jackson in 20 minutes. When we come back, though, LSU basketball season has been a wet blanket on the year. But there was actually a pretty cool thing that happened on Saturday against Alabama. Trey'Dez Green made his debut on the hardwood, and he was awesome to watch. We'll talk a little bit about the next. Stay far.
AFR.
You know, I've told you for a while now about First South Farm Credit, and I got to sort of experience this weekend one of the really cool things that First South Farm Credit can make happen. So I always tell you, if you want to buy land, First South Farm Credit has been helping Louisianians buy land for more than 100 years. On Saturday, Erica and Drew and I went up to her sister, so my sister-in-law, brother-in-law's camp they built in Mississippi, just north of Woodville. You go north on 61, you turn right, weave and wind for 15 minutes, through the woods, and then you're at their place. But it's awesome. Great spot. They use it as an Airbnb, and they use it sometimes as well. But the point is, you want to buy the 20 acres to build a getaway camp. You want to buy your recreational property. You want to buy that acreage to build your family's dream home. First South Farm Credit can make it happen. FirstSouthLand.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment. Dave's back on. Coors Light. Choose chill.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Jimmy Butler was supposed to return from a 2-game suspension tonight versus the Magic, but he walked out of the morning shoot-around after learning he won't be starting, so the team suspended him indefinitely. It is Butler's 3rd suspension with the organization amid his trade demand. Franchise quarterback Dak Prescott among the Cowboys players around today as the team introduced the 10th head coach in franchise history, Brian Schottenheimer. Considering where Dallas is, who the coach is likely won't really matter, says ESPN's Dan Orlovsky.
The Cowboys are in this terrible spot because they were scared to make difficult decisions 18 months ago. I'm not going to doubt. I have no idea if Brian Schottenheimer is going to be a great head coach or not, but I do know this: no matter who the coach was, Cowboys weren't going to be good. Dak Prescott's cap hit next year is $90 million, and they still have to re-sign Micah Parsons.
Steelers owner and president Art Rooney II said securing a quarterback is the team's priority, and his preference is to sign either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson this offseason. New Jets coach Aaron Glenn, non-committal when it comes to quarterback Aaron Rodgers' future with the organization, said he'll be evaluated like every other player on the roster.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. At Progressive, they're making things even easier. They'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you can save on both. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's ride!
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us, AFR. Presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
You suck. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you are driving home with us. Ross Jackson here in 15 minutes from right now. And Super Bowl 59 is set. We'll get to some of that and a recap of Conference Championship weekend at the bottom of this hour. The LSU basketball team, candidly, has just not been much to watch. There isn't a whole lot to say. They're a team that I think is better than they were a year ago when they finished right at just under 500 in the conference. But in a year where the SEC is literally the deepest the league has ever been, in the updated top 25 that came out today, Monday, January 27th, there are 10 SEC teams ranked. 10 of the top 25 are from the SEC in basketball. It's bonkers. It's the not too distant past when the league got 3 teams in the field of 68. So LSU is just caught in a terrible storm where the league is awesome, and while LSU is good, they're just not awesome. So they're 1-5 in the conference. They beat Arkansas. Next up, they got to play number 1 Auburn, which is, I think, the best team in college basketball. And then you might have a shot at a couple of wins. You play Texas at home, and you got to go to Georgia. So we'll see. But it's not going to go well, and there's not a lot. Look, baseball's right around the bend, so most LSU fans have just moved on. They're thinking about baseball. But if you were watching LSU against Alabama on Saturday, there was a reason to be excited, and that reason was Trey'Dez Green. Yes, the same Trey'Dez Green, the 5-star tight end who just caught 2 touchdown passes in the bowl game. The same Trey'Dez Green who had 4 touchdown receptions this year, the same number as Mason Taylor, who's the best receiving tight end in LSU program history.
Mason Taylor!
We're all very excited about what Trey'Dez Green is going to be in football for LSU next year and for the following year, and hopefully the year after that as well. But Trey'Dez Green entered the game at about the 12-minute mark, or maybe just inside the 13-minute mark in the first half. And it was instant offense and energy and enthusiasm. And my goodness, did he make a highlight reel play.
Now to Youngblood. Shot going to be blocked by Trey'Dez Green. Green on his way to the basket with a tomahawk slam with a left hand. Trey'Dez Green, welcome to the Tiger Basketball Club.
I mean, if you weren't watching, you're talking about a dude that is 6'7", 245, and long. He was playing on the wing. He stepped in front of a passing lane. He led a one-on-one break, and he tomahawk dunked it for his only points of the game. He was 1 for 2 from the floor. He pulled down 3 rebounds, and he had a personal foul, which was also pretty awesome because he threw an elbow, like a forearm shimmy, right to some dude's chin. They had to go review it to see if it was going to be a common foul or a flagrant. They ruled it a common foul. But either way, the point is, the 9 minutes of run that Trey'Dez Green got was probably the most exciting thing I've seen from this basketball team in conference play, just very candidly. It's a reason to watch going forward, man, to see how this continues to materialize. Now, I've shared this with you as well, but I had a chance to chat with Trey'Dez last spring. It was on March or April. And not on air, just separately. And he told me point blank that basketball is his first love. I mean, he was a guy that averaged over 20 points a game in high school last year at Zachary. If I remember correctly, I think it was like 23 and 11. And he loves basketball. Football wasn't something he did until later in his high school career. Went to camp, did really well, and was like, oh, I could be good at this. And now all of a sudden he's a 5-star and he signs with LSU and everything. But this is creating sort of an interesting juxtaposition where you have a guy that loves basketball and is a 6'7", 245-pound body on a team that, especially after Jalen Reed's injury, needs size and depth and physicality, stuff like that. And he provides it for you. But he's also a guy who's playing 8 minutes on a team that's at the bottom of the SEC standings. All that to say, the impact Trey'Dez Green's going to make in basketball is minimal relative to his potential impact in football in 2025. So while Trey'Dez Green right now is with the basketball team, what is going to be interesting is what happens when spring football rolls around. Now, I went and checked the dates to kind of cross-check the calendar. Last year, spring football started at the beginning of March, March 5th, and ran through April 13th when they had the spring game. Basketball season, let's be honest, LSU's not making the postseason, but the SEC tournament is March 12th. So let's say LSU plays in the 12th, they're bounced, or maybe they win a game and move on to the second. They'll play on that first day of the tournament. Maybe they win and they move on, but then they'll get bounced. So all that to say, Trey'Dez would likely end up missing the first full week of spring and then could rejoin the team. And I guess it's going to be interesting because he is a scholarship football player. He is at LSU on a football scholarship. So football is the priority, which is why he was with the football team until the season ended and then went to basketball. So now this is a conversation that Brian Kelly will have with Matt McMahon and how they all play that out. But does Trey'Dez stay with the basketball team to the end of the season? Or does he go back to football at the start of spring? I don't know the answer to that question. We'll see how it plays out. But remember, you're going to have a new tight ends coach. Slade Nagel's gone. And you're also bringing in both Bauer Sharp, Donovan Green, and J.D. LaFleur. So Trey'Dez is the only returning player in that tight end room. And you're going to have a new tight ends coach. You could argue, does a week in spring really matter? And maybe not, because you'd have the rest of spring. You'll have the summer. You'll have fall camp. You'll have plenty of time. But do you want to miss any time at all with a player who is going to be a really impactful player? We all think is going to be a really impactful player for you in 2025 and beyond. And that's kind of the decision they have to make. It's different with basketball, football, two-sport guys as like baseball, basketball, two-sport guys. Because you remember like Chad Jones or Spencer Ware, any of the guys that were basketball, baseball guys. Football, baseball guys. The challenge was like Spencer Ware, Chad Jones, for example. They'd show up in January and February and play baseball, and then when spring football started, they'd be gone for a month, right? 6 weeks. And then they'd have to come back to baseball, and when you're not seeing live pitching and you're not in the groove of baseball every day, like you got to get your timing back and sharpen your skills. So there would always be that long lag period, and other guys have won jobs. So you're a little behind the eight ball to establish a role. It's a little different here because basketball will be over at the front end of spring, so we'll see how that may all go. But it's a decision they're going to have to make. But I would also say, look, this is a lesson that we all got to see learn with Jimmy Graham when he was with the Saints. Jimmy Graham was a basketball player at the University of Miami. He was a 6'6" forward at Miami. And it wasn't until, I believe, his junior year at Miami that he went and played football. And then he ended up becoming a third-round pick of the Saints and became an all-pro as he caught up the learning curve on football and was great. And what we learned in that exercise was a 6'6" power forward is just another guy on the floor. A 6'6" tight end is a freak show. And we're kind of seeing the same thing with Trey'Dez. Like, he was fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. I mean, 6'7", 245, athletic, running. I mean, he's like a puppy they let off the chain, man. He was rolling out there. It was fun to watch on a team that there ain't a lot to really be interested in right now. But is Trey'Dez Green giving you 9 minutes a game off the bench for a team that's 1-5 in the conference the best use for a guy that's 6'7", 245, and when you see Trey'Dez on a football field, you're like, oh my God. Because he's lined up across from a slot corner who's 5'11", 195. Like, you're like, that looks like a high schooler against a fourth grader. It looks like Andy Reid in the old punt, pass, and kick videos that have gone viral. Like, that's what Trey'Dez on a football field looks like. On a basketball court, he's just a guy. He's fun. But what really is the ceiling there? So I don't have a great answer for you today, by the way. Trey'Dez loves basketball. He's with the team. He's going to go play. And he's fun to watch. But I could also see a day coming in the not-too-distant future where you go, hey, man, look, I get that you love basketball, but realize what the future is in basketball, and that ceiling is much lower than what the future is in football. Because in football, you could be a dude. I mean, there's no reason to think he couldn't be what Jimmy Graham was as an all-pro or what Tony Gonzalez became. I'm not like trying to say he'd be a Hall of Famer, but when you have the physical skill set and ability, if you apply yourself, you could be that. And he's on scholarship as a football player at LSU. So one to watch, but Trey'Dez made his basketball debut against Alabama. Tigers are back on the floor on Wednesday at the Maravich Center against number 1 Auburn, a 6 o'clock tip. Trey'Dez wearing the 8. Will be out there on the hardwood for the basketball Tigers. All right, it's after further review. We're glad you're aboard with us here. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back. We'll head to Mobile. Our guy Ross Jackson is there all week for the Senior Bowl. We'll get you caught up not only on who the Saints are watching there at Senior Bowl this week, but notably the Saints coaching search, which the saga continues. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Clegg's Nursery with 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Seagan near Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Tell you every single day to buy local and shop local when you go see our friends over at Clegg's Nursery. Make sure that if you had any damage to your plants or your trees or your flowers or any of that from the freeze last week and from the snow, make sure you get by Clegg's Nursery. Their horticulturists have all the answers that you need on how to care for everything that you have. And they are gearing up for the spring season right now. Even though just a week ago we had snow on the ground, they got new shipments of plants arriving almost daily. And it is time to just plant something. It was incredible. We have some flowers in our front garden. And, you know, some of these flowers just like seasonally love the cool weather. Yeah, even after the snow, these flowers came, boom, right back. Erica told me last night, can you believe those are, yeah, it's that time of year. So get in the garden and just plant something, and they can help you at Clegg's Nursery.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environment.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
All right, Jimmy will be here for Otterlocks in about 30 minutes from right now. I'll also get his thoughts on the early line, which came out with the Chiefs, a 1.5-point favorite in the Super Bowl. It's gone to 2, but we'll talk about that with Jimmy coming up in just a bit. Saints still in search of their next head coach. Ross Jackson joins us from Mobile, where he'll be all week for the Senior Bowl. Of course, Ross anchoring our coverage for LouisianaSports.net and the Locked On Saints podcast. How are you, dude?
Hey, man, doing great. Glad to be here with you. Appreciate you having me.
Oh, thanks for the time. Okay, let's go with the present, and then we'll kind of work our way back. What's the absolute latest on Saints coaching search here today, Monday?
Yeah, so latest thing right now is that after having done their in-person interviews with Anthony Weaver, Darren Rizzi, as well as Mike Kafka, the next interview is expected to be the Saints flying to Philadelphia to hold their in-person interview with Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. The expectation is that after that, the Saints would potentially go forth with an interview with Mike McCarthy, a guy that was immediately considered a front runner in the conversation, but has not had any interview with New Orleans. And apparently a part of that comes from, and this was Nick Underhill over at New Orleans Football, apparently a big part of that is that they wanted to wrap up their interview with Kellen Moore and then kind of see where things go. Makes sense. Prioritize the guys that have been a part of your process from the very beginning and then add new names after you've already spoken with them. But I do think that that's also indicative of how serious the interest may be for New Orleans when it comes to Kellen Moore if they do find that he's a good fit. So that interview is expected to take place early this week. So that could be happening as we speak, could be happening tomorrow. We'll see. But that's going to be the next big interview for New Orleans, is a pretty outstanding offensive mind in Kellen Moore, but you've got to learn a little bit more about what he would be like as a head coach.
Russ, am I wrong to say, like, it didn't seem like we were talking much about Kellen Moore until after the Eagles went and put up 55 in the NFC Championship game? Is this a sort of a prisoner of the moment thing for the Saints?
It could be a little bit of a what have you done for me lately kind of a situation. Well, like the Saints have had Kellen Moore on the list for a while. He did a virtual interview with him weeks ago as well, as did Joe Brady before he eventually ended up withdrawing from the search. But I think when it comes to Kellen Moore, a big part of it in terms of the timing really just comes down to when is he available to do the in-person interview because of how long Philadelphia's season has become with them going to the Super Bowl. This was the earliest possible moment where they could do an in-person interview with him. And I don't think that a loss to the Washington Commanders would have changed their interest. So I think some of it is timeline. I think that some of the excitement that you're seeing around it, though, could be very much prisoner of the moment.
Is, again, look at odds, and, like, Mike McCarthy's at the top of them now. Like, do you believe that Mike McCarthy is the number one target, like we all believe Aaron Glenn at one point was?
I don't know if I can really say that, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't think that I could say that he's the number one target. Because if he was the number one target, he's been available since the moment that he walked away from the Dallas Cowboys on, what was it, the 14th or whatever, when his contract expired. And so the Dallas Cowboys didn't make that hard for him. They sat on their hands for 8 days before they eventually started having conversations with him. And then before they even got to negotiations, apparently Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones had decided that it was best for them to part ways, which is pretty indicative of Mike McCarthy saying, nah, fam, I'm good. And then maybe deciding that he's going to go and see what else is out there. He had the interviews very quickly with the Chicago Bears, and the Saints didn't really push on any of that. And they have prioritized the guys that have been a part of their process from the very beginning, Anthony Weaver, Mike Kafka, Kellen Moore, all that, before they've even gone down the road with Mike McCarthy. So he could be a front runner in terms of the guy that makes the most sense. He's the safest hire. He impacts your floor without necessarily shooting you through the ceiling, but he impacts your floor quite a bit. But the Saints don't seem to be in a rush there. And the way that they've waited for Kellen Moore seems to indicate that the actual waiting for Kellen Moore is more indicative of interest than maybe what the pursuit of Mike McCarthy might say at this point.
Ross Jackson on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola. Joe Brady decided to remain at Buffalo. I look at this, there's like one of three things going on. I'm curious what you think it is. One, like he's not interested in the Saints job. Two, he's really just genuinely interested in staying in Buffalo in that really good situation. Or, three, it could also be a situation where, I don't know, like maybe he wasn't going to get the Saints job. And so sometimes guys have an opportunity, if they're not going to get the job, that they say, I'm withdrawing from consideration sort of for the optics of it. What do you think about what happened here or what do you know about what happened here with the Brady situation?
Yeah, I think you hear a lot of the conversation being that he stayed in, or we're hearing a lot of the conversation that he stayed in Buffalo more because of Buffalo than anything having to do with the New Orleans Saints. That his decision wasn't about New Orleans, but was about his situation and the comfort that he has in Buffalo. There's probably truth to that, but look, I think that still says the same thing. It still says that though staying in Buffalo was a better opportunity for him than taking the head coaching job in New Orleans, right? It says the same thing. It's the difference between saying that shirt doesn't look good on you versus you don't look good in that shirt, right? Like they say it's the same thing, but you're just saying it a little nicer. You know what I mean? So I think like the reality is the reality. Like the Saints have to sell their situation, and if you can't adequately sell that situation, then the situation that somebody is coming from, the originating situation, is going to be more appealing. And I think that's all that happened in this Joe Brady situation. And the sting for New Orleans has to be around the idea that like this is a guy that used to be in your building and that has been a part of your culture, that's been a part of your organization, and didn't give you the in-person interview. I think that's kind of the thing. Now, the third option that you mentioned is interesting and could be the case where maybe he felt that, hey, I know that Kellen Moore maybe is actually the favorite in this conversation, or Mike McCarthy's lingering or whatever. I might not get this job. I'm going to be the hottest name next season. I don't want to ruin that by being the guy that got passed on, so let me protect my stock. And that could very well be a way that it goes, or that went as well.
Ross, are there other names we should be talking about right now? The answer might be no, but is there anybody else worth noting?
I don't know that anybody's going to enter the conversation late at this point, right? The Saints are there's still a ticking clock here with building the rest of the staff around New Orleans. And you've already seen they're going to need a new offensive coordinator. We already knew they were going to need a new defensive coordinator. If Darren Rizzi isn't the hire, then they're going to need a new special teams coordinator, because it's not like he's going to stick around and take a demotion to stay in New Orleans and all those things. And so I think that's maybe a little bit of the rush. So I don't know that there's really an opportunity to add new names. Should we be talking about more names? I would say yes to that, because you would imagine that this search would have been a little bit more widespread. Guys like Todd Monken, guys like Brian Flores, and some of these others out there that would have been good candidates that weren't seemingly a part of the search. I think that's where we can say, like, yeah, there should be more names. But at this point, I don't think you're going to see new names added. The one and only name that could potentially be added now is Cliff Kingsbury, who said he was going to wait till the Washington Commanders are no longer competing to kind of weigh his options for his future. And so we'll see if he ends up doing that. But I think he's primed to go right back to Washington. I mean, why would you leave that situation? And so I think that might be the one name that we could add to the list, or see the Saints add to the list. But at this point, I don't expect that.
Do you have a timeline that the Saints would follow to make this hire?
I think the timeline that makes sense right now would be at some point late this week. And now it's going to depend on who they're hiring, right? If they're hiring Kellen Moore, then late in the week you could potentially get a report that says the Saints are expected to hire Kellen Moore after the Super Bowl, because he can't actually make it official until after the Super Bowl has concluded. So I think the thing that I look at here is a potential indicator of interest in Kellen Moore is how far this pushes towards the end of the week before any kind of announcement is made. In my opinion, the later that this goes, the more likely it's Kellen Moore. But otherwise, right after this interview is done with Kellen Moore, and then if an interview happens with Mike McCarthy, once that's done, the Saints would be free to hire any of those other four candidates: Rizzi, Weaver, Kafka, McCarthy. So I would expect something later on this week, but I will say that the later it goes, the more likely it is that it might be Kellen Moore.
A couple more for you. You mentioned obviously Klint Kubiak leaving. Is Michael Hodges, the linebackers coach, today headed to Cincinnati as well? Ross, I look at that and I go, well, it makes sense. These guys aren't going to have a job in New Orleans. They're going to take other jobs. Should we make anything of these guys leaving to take other jobs right now before a new coach is hired in New Orleans?
I don't think so. I think that those guys were going to be – I think I'm with you. I think those guys had no guarantees in New Orleans at this point. New head coach that could potentially be an offensive mind incoming, new defensive coordinator incoming. Those guys maybe didn't have a future in New Orleans anyway. Stinks for Klint Kubiak, who again is a one and done, but at least he's leaving for another offensive coordinator situation over in Seattle, and a good situation over there. So I think that the indicator for me when it comes to Kubiak is that he was given the opportunity to go and do that Cleveland Browns interview when he was considered the favorite there. He was given the opportunity to go and do 2 interviews with the Seattle Seahawks. I think that kind of says where this was heading from the very beginning. And those interviews are granted to him well before things kind of progressed in the New Orleans Saints head coaching search. So I think he was probably already on his way out. And then Michael Hodges was a really solid linebackers coach under Dennis Allen, but his only pro experience has been under Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen's not in the building anymore.
Right.
And so Michael Hodges now gets the opportunity to go somewhere where he knows somebody wants him now, gets to go and work over there with the it's former Notre Dame
Al Golden,
Al Golden, thank you.
Yep.
And he gets to show, like, hey, he's the guy that's gotten looks as a defensive coordinator. He gets to say, hey, here's what I can do, not under Dennis Allen, not with the New Orleans Saints organization, which could help to push that stock back for him in terms of being a potential defensive coordinator in the future.
Ross Jackson, of course, LouisianaSports.net and the Locked On Saints podcast in Mobile for the Senior Bowl. 60 seconds or less, what are the top of the funnel storylines for the Saints in Mobile this week?
Yeah, I think you're watching edge rush positions. I think you're watching wide receiver positions. I think quarterback can be very interesting because the Saints in the last three of their last 4 drafts have taken a quarterback that performed in the Senior Bowl. So that's going to be a big one to watch as well. And then outside of that, like, remember, the Senior Bowl is an opportunity for you to also kind of rub shoulders and everything like that and kind of get some of this conversation with some of these other coaches and things like that too. So I would expect that to be a big part of it. But guys like Princely Amon Mielen out of Ole Miss, big names to watch this weekend. And looking for your typical kind of Saints draft picks as they love their Senior Bowl prospects.
Please make sure T-Bob doesn't get arrested.
I will do my best.
All right.
Now, I can't make that promise, but I'll make the promise that I'll try.
Between you and Rivers,
we can do it.
I'm hoping, and Jake there as well.
Yeah.
But really, you and Rivers being the adults in the room really need help just to make sure.
I'm more confident in Rivers than I am in myself, but the combination of Rivers and I think we can do it.
All right. Ross Jackson on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola. Thanks, man.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. Take care. Stay safe. Talk to you soon.
We'll see you later. It's after further review. The whole gang's there. Our coverage from Mobile all week is presented by L'Auberge Baton Rouge. So, of course, Off the Bench will be there through Thursday, doing their show through Thursday from Mobile at the Senior Bowl. And Ross is there covering Senior Bowl for Locked On Saints podcast, and, of course, LouisianaSports.net. So LSU, Saints, SEC, we got you covered up, down, left, right, all the way at the Senior Bowl this week. All right, let me knock out a quick break. Come back. Super Bowl 59 is set, and we'll recap our picks from last week. We'll hold ourselves accountable. Somebody did really good. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Glow Resources, GLO, glowresources.com. At Glow Resources, they like to say we are complete employer solutions because at Glow Resources, they're not a temp staffing agency. At Glow Resources, they are not asking you, the employee, to contact them. They'll find you. At Glow Resources, they want to talk to you, the business owner. At Glow Resources, they want to talk to you, the hiring manager. They want to talk to you, the operations manager, you, the HR director. You, the person in charge of getting the right people in the right seats on the bus to make sure your business is as efficient as possible. That's what Glow Resources does. And they have offices. Look, their corporate headquarters are right here in Baton Rouge, which is awesome. They've maintained that local presence. But they've got offices all over the country, and they help place people in jobs for companies all over the country and jobs all over the world. So if you're looking for skilled blue-collar labor to any type of white-collar office job all the way up to C-level management, Glow Resources can help. GLO, glowresources.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Luba Workers' Comp, Our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luva, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
OTB, AFR, and the Hunt Palmer Show are hitting the road to spend the week on Radio Row, walking you up to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. Our coverage is presented locally by L'Auberge Casino Baton Rouge. Listen on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and watch on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel.
They go empty here. 5 receivers set. 3rd down and 3 from the 36. Daniels, he throws it to the right. Catch is made at the 30-yard line. The run to the left side, and it's Terry McLaurin taking it the distance. Touchdown, Commanders.
Kind of felt a little promising there, yeah?
A little bit, yeah.
You know?
Like, wait a minute, they got a shot.
It's like, hey, wait, it ain't over, you know? That got them within 14-12. Oh, and then it's like, then you gave up a touchdown, and then you fumbled the kickoff and gave up another touchdown. And then like, oh, well, crap, it's 27-12. And then Jaden goes and leads a field goal drive right before half. So it's like, okay, it's 27-15. You're within 2 scores. And then they scored, and then Jaden ran for a touchdown. You're like, all right, you're back within the score. It's 11. And then you're like, okay, let's just go ahead and fumble again and give up touchdowns again. And then let's, like, have 15 offsides penalties to where the ref is just going to, like, award a touchdown. Did you know that was a thing? I didn't know that was a thing.
No, and that was really stupid, by the way.
Which part?
The fact that they're calling the Commanders out for deliberately jumping off sides. What all that does, they were not. They were trying to time a snap. Why would they deliberately jump off sides and move the ball closer to the goal line?
Kept jumping over the pile. Like,
he's trying to time the snap.
I understand, and he kept failing. And so if you're going to keep doing that, then you just keep prolonging that entire thing. You're just going to keep doing it. So
quit hard counting.
Yep. Why would you put hard? They keep mistiming it.
Okay.
Of course you're going to do it. And then they're going to award you a touchdown.
But that's the deliberate. Stop. That's the deliberate part of it.
This isn't the conversation. Like, it doesn't matter. The point is you get 4 consecutive false starts. Like, you can't keep moving the ball any further, or any farther. So they're going to award a touchdown. Anyway, don't get it twisted. The point is, Jaden played well. They gave up 55 points. This was the crazy part. Where is it? Here it is. So the 55 points were the most in a playoff game in 25 years. The last time a team scored more in a playoff game was January 15th of 2000, when the Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Dolphins 62-7. If I'm not mistaken, that was Jimmy Johnson's Dolphins team. Wasn't that Jimmy?
What's the year?
2000.
2000?
It was January 15th of 2000. If I vaguely remember this game, I think Jimmy Johnson, and this is why I remember, which is weird, he had on that wouldn't make sense. That wouldn't make a lick of sense. I'm thinking of the Jets game when they lost to the Jets. Was he the coach?
I'm looking it up. Hold on one second.
I remember Jimmy Johnson losing in a playoff game in
He was
Miami.
not.
He had the big puffy starter jacket on. It was the Jets. So who was the coach of the Dolphins in 2000?
Oh, sorry, I closed it out already. Dave Wanstead.
Wanstead was the coach. Okay. Maybe Wanstead was in the big puffy
The big
jacket.
puffy jacket?
But Jimmy was for sure as well. Anyway, the most points ever scored in a playoff game, the Bears beat Washington 73-0 in the 1940 NFL Championship.
Jeez.
The Jags 62 points was the second most ever. So that's crazy.
73-0 in an NFL game is wild.
Well,
I don't care what year it was. That's wild,
1940.
man.
So the Eagles, 55 points. That's actually the most that any team scored this season. And you know what that tells you, though, right? With all these blowouts, there's too many teams in the playoffs. Too many teams in the playoffs. The committee got it wrong. You don't need this many teams in the playoffs. Let's pare it down. Let's look. It should just be. We could have known this from the beginning. The committee can just give us 2 teams. We don't need to play all these games, right? Am I doing it right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, well, you forgot that the committee should have put the Bengals in over.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The Bengals should have been put in by the committee.
It's the Alabama bias
Exactly.
that got him in.
Yep.
So clearly, there's blowouts, too many teams in the playoffs. It's funny how all the idiots, and yes, I'm calling you an idiot, all the idiots who bitch about the college football playoffs, there's too many Hey, idiots. The highest level, you had 55, you just had a 50 burger hung on the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. Idiots. There's not too many teams. It happens sometimes, blowouts happen in sports sometimes. Idiots. Speaking of idiots, listen to our picks from Friday for this game between the Commanders and the Eagles.
Jaden Daniels is going to pull this one off, man. He's
Terry,
going to the Super Bowl. He's winning this game and going to the Super Bowl.
Muse.
If the Washington Commanders do not turn the football over, they're going to win this football game. The problem is the team that has actually had success turning them over this season has been the Philadelphia Eagles. I will take the Eagles.
Paulie.
I want the Commanders to win this game, but I don't think they're stopping Saquon Barkley.
No.
I'm going with the Eagles.
This is easy. It's in Philadelphia. So, yeah, I mean, I love Jaden Daniels. I am not betting this game. I am only going to watch this game and root like hell for Washington and for Jaden Daniels to win it because I loathe the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, I hate the Eagles. Go Commanders, but if I had to pick, I'm picking the Eagles to win it so far. Sounds like you spliced my take a little bit there. You cut some stuff out.
Your take was really long.
What's your point? It's my show. I get to do what I want.
Well, I know, but we have to, condense it a little.
You left your whole thing in there and Paulie's whole thing in there.
Ours weren't long. They were like 5 seconds.
Oh, we're saying, well, if they win the turnover battle, then they're going to win the game. Oh, sure, they won the turnover battle. Great, Muse. They won the turnover battle and won the game. Paulie, Saquon Barkley's going to be good. Oh, way to go out on a limb. The guy that ran for 2,000 yards had a good day. Way to go out on a limb, Paulie. By the way, we picked the other game as well. Play that one, Muse.
I got to go with the Chiefs here.
Muse.
I'm taking the Buffalo Bills in this game. I think they're the more balanced team.
Idiot.
Top to bottom.
Paulie.
I'm going with Musso. I'm going with the Bills. I think they are actually the more complete team this year. I don't feel comfortable, but I'm going with the Bills.
That's just a dumb decision by me. I mean, yeah, of course you pick the Chiefs. It's chalk, but you pick the Chiefs. They're at home. They've got the best player in the world, and nobody's figured out how to beat them. And until someone does, I'm not picking them to lose. What do you have to say for yourselves?
I mean, it was a tied game late in the fourth quarter, and the Chiefs kicked a field goal. And then the Bills had another chance, and Dalton Kincaid dropped the ball.
Still lost because you don't pick against Kansas City in Kansas City because until Buffalo proves they can beat them there in the playoffs, you don't pick them to beat them there in the playoffs until they prove they can do it. Idiots.
It was a close game. Really good game, too.
Great. Close game. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Guess what? The Chiefs won and covered.
They did? Well, that was a 1.5 point spread.
Did they win and cover?
They did.
Blah, 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 blah. Here goes Muse. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, I'm just saying.
Always got something to say.
It'd been better
Backed
if they were
into
like
a corner,
8-point
dead
favorites and
wrong,
covered.
missed the play, missed the pick, backed into a corner, still going to blah, 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 blah his way out. That's what you get for splicing my answer.
I spliced Paul's answer in the Chiefs pick.
Well, Paul's answer was terrible. Hey, Paul, Saquon Barkley's going to have a big day. Way to go out on a limb there, homie. Awesome job, Paul.
He did have a big day.
He did. He did. He scored a 60-yard touchdown the first touch. I mean, he had a big day,
He ran for 2,000 yards. The Commanders' defense stinks. They gave up 55. Of course Saquon was going to have a big day. Jalen Hurts is running around with half a leg. Like, of course they were going to give the ball to. By the way, you know what we didn't talk about?
Marshawn Lattimore.
Oh, my God. Like,
I was about to bring it up, and you did it.
The one thing that Mickey Loomis might have gotten right, and he had to be pressured to do it, because he had to be pressured to fire DA and then trade Lattimore, but you got a 3 for that guy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah! Not big, Mick. You're getting ice cream tonight, bud. Come on, let's go. Dude!
You also got another pick back from them that you traded to them earlier. I mean,
Bro, Lattimore gives up the 4th and 5, gives up the touchdown, has the personal foul on A.J. Brown, and I feel like there's one more I'm missing. It was all in this sequence, like at the end of the first half. It was those 3, but I feel like there's another one I'm missing. Anyway. Oh, they had a PI.
Oh, yeah, he did have a PI.
Oh, my God. In the end zone, which put the ball at the 1-yard line. Dude, like, I don't hate Marshawn Lattimore. He was a good player for the Saints for a long time. Like, I'm not, and he didn't leave. Right? You traded him.
Facts.
So it's not like there's like, oh, he just signed as a free agent and left you. You traded him. And we all celebrated that trade because the Saints needed to reset and he was someone you get an asset for. So I'm not like dogging on Lattimore. I'm just as an observation, right? Like Washington traded for Lattimore specifically for a game like that. It's the NFC Championship game. You're our guy. Go shut down A.J. Brown. And boy, did he fail epically. And you got a 3rd-round pick for it. That's what we're celebrating. 3rd-round picks. Meanwhile, the Commanders have like $90 million in cap space and 8 draft picks. And Jaden Daniels.
Mickey said give him all the picks. He wants as many picks as he can have. He wants as many picks as he can get.
I want as many picks as I can get. Oh, what a time. Chiefs and Eagles in the Super Bowl. We'll wait and make our picks. But you better believe we'll come back on the Monday after the Super Bowl and we'll play it. Hey, look, we hold ourselves accountable. Me and Terrio did our picks all season long. Do we not come back here every Friday and tell you how our picks went? But when I have a chance to make fun of those two, especially Muse over there being all contentious and everything all the time. You're so contentious.
I wasn't being contentious. I was just, you asked me a question, I answered the question. You know, what are you going to do?
Define irony.
That's the point, but all right.
In proving he's not contentious. He's being contentious. We're brought to you by Shaw Bill's Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com. Locations all over Louisiana. ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. If you need tires, you go to Shaw Bill's. You need your oil change, you go to Shaw Bill's. Your brakes are squeaking, you go to Shaw Bill's. Your check engine's lights on, go to Shaw Bill's. You need anything for your car, you go to Shaw Bill's. Shaw Bill's Tire and Auto Service, where they're going to treat you like family, and they'll get you name brand tires at wholesale prices. Ask about the Shaw Bill's credit card, y'all. It's basically a credit card just for your car. And you get 6 months interest-free on your credit card, on your Shaw Bill's credit card. So you need to buy tires. You don't want to come out of pocket because tires can be expensive. You get the best price and use your Shaw Bill's credit card, 6 months interest-free. Shaw Bill's, we keep you rolling. All right, let's knock out our final break of the show. Come back. We'll talk to the Otter, get some Otter locks. Jimmy did have a 5:30 pick I forgot to give. I'm sorry. It was Penn State plus 9.5. I don't know what that number is in game. I'm trying to check it. Anyway, we'll get to it after this. Anyway, Jimmy did give a pick. It was a 5:30 tip. Penn State plus 9.5. You can try to in-game it. We'll see where it is. It's down to 6.5. Sorry, my bad. Sorry about that. It's AFR.
After further review.
Y'all, if you want to build a beautiful pool or outdoor kitchen, call my friends over at Duplessis Builders. Or better yet, go stop by their showroom, Airline Highway in Gonzales. If you're going south on Airline into Gonzales, it's on your right at the corner of Airline and Duplessis Lane. Serendipity in life. It's a beautiful thing. They're right next to the new Rouse's. Anyway, I would highly recommend you go into their showroom. Go sit down with Derek. Go sit down with the team there at Duplessis Builders because as you go through the planning process of your pool and your outdoor kitchen and you're picking out the finishes, they want you to be a part of that. They don't want to just make plans and give them to you. Like, what type of tiling, what color coping do you want? What type of water feature do you want on your pool? They have examples of all of them so you can choose and be part of that process. Call today. If you want to be swimming by the time swim season comes around, you need to call now. It's Duplessis Builders. Go to duplessisbuilders.net, duplessisbuilders.net.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
All right, down the stretch we come. Final segment here on a Monday edition of AFR, presented by Relief Windows. Always appreciate Brandon and Adrian Holly. God, they're the best. Make your home more energy efficient, increase your home's resale value, a true lifetime transferable warranty. You do it once. You replace your windows once with Relief Windows, you're done forever. Windows, door, siding. Oh, yeah, they do shutters as well. Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. Okay. Do we have Otter? No, he still answered the phone?
He has not answered the phone.
What's he doing? He even texted me just a little while ago with the Penn State play. So anyway, Jimmy gave us Penn State plus 9.5. He threw that one out earlier. And if you're in-gaming it right now, it's back to 8.5. Penn State, Michigan. So Michigan's up 2, 23-21. So anyway, if you want to watch that one live and try to in-game it, you can. But anyway, Penn State 9.5 was the number that Jimmy gave out. Excuse me. All right. Well, usually we have the Otter here. He's not answering the phone. Let's see. Now I'm just checking. Okay. Oh, that's good. I'm checking the text line. I was asking if Kelvin Shepard was the first ever defensive coordinator. Thank you to Donald Murtaugh and to Daniel Landry, who both noted Terry Rubisky was a defensive coordinator. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. He was also an interim head coach. I forgot. Darren Fletrich said off the bench needs to be uploaded on demand. Can we see if that's done yet? If not, we need to get Tell on what?
I'll check it.
Why did you just?
No, I was just like, I'll check it.
Yeah. Jason Odell said Todd Peterson.
Well, no. I had to get the right one.
Got
I had to get the right one and not use the one that was on the button bar that's playing the bed music.
Does it sound like he's just being contentious again?
Very much so.
I mean, was there like a really long delay there before we heard the Todd Peterson drop?
Yes.
Yeah.
Todd Peterson.
I think Jason Odell got him.
Off the bench is uploaded.
Okay, good.
All 3 hours. So
Thank you.
Just go check now, dude.
Yeah, check now, dude. Tommy Screen, any news on the proposed basketball arena? No, not that I've heard. Anybody else heard anything? No.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them do that. That'd be good.
Be awesome. Yeah.
I mean, I was having a conversation this weekend with my sister-in-law, incidentally. She's like, "Why isn't LSU basketball any good?" I'm like, well, they just aren't committing to be good. They're half pregnant. Why? Like, Auburn goes and builds a brand new arena and hires Bruce Pearl and invests $10 million in their roster. And, oh, look, they're the number one team in the country. Well, knock down the spaceship, build a new arena, put $10 million into your roster, and you'll be really good again. I just don't think there's the appetite here for it. That's the unfortunate part about it with LSU basketball. Like, there have been times in LSU's history when they've been good. Dale Brown went to 13 straight NCAA tournaments. Shaq was here. You made a Final Four in 2006. I mean, the high points are really high. It's just a lot of meh. All right. What happened to the Otter? I hope he's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. He normally doesn't. It's not like him to not answer the phone.
I know. Lock and wait. Otter locks. All right, Muse Polly, thanks. See you.
After further review.
Getting on down the road, much about Parish Construction and Roofing. Do business with someone you know. ParishBuilt.com, ParishBuilt.com, ParishBuilt.com. I had rain yesterday. Well, woke up this morning. It was pouring rain this morning. I tell you all the time, there's 2 ways to know if you got roof damage. Number 1, you call us and let us come do a free, no-obligation roofing inspection to see if you have roof damage. Or number 2, you wait till it rains, you get water in your house. And that option stinks, but that's what most people do. So if you look up and you start seeing water spots on the ceiling or you have water intrusion, we'd love to help you out, have the opportunity to earn your business. Give us a shout. Go to ParishBuilt.com, ParishBuilt.com. Fill out the form right there on the homepage. It's right next to the video of Kim Mulkey explaining why she calls Parish Construction and Roofing, just like you should as well. Go to ParishBuilt.com. Remember, we've got a great commercial roofing arm as well to the business. So we'd love to help you out with commercial or residential roofing. ParishBuilt.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.